Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 146 of Masters of the Forge, The Awakened, a Crusade preview. Hello, Jason.
Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. I'm so excited that this is over. Starting.
It's only been, 2.5 hours?
Yeah. Today.
Yeah, today. That's just today. This has been a slog of an episode.
It's a long episode, and everyone, I just want you to know that we're not the only ones on this episode. We also have Brian, and we also have
Quinn
throughout the episode, here and there and everywhere, because it's just been there's no way to record this episode with no Quinn. It's just not possible.
Yeah, it hasn't happened
It's either we have this, either we record this episode with Quinn, or we don't record this episode. So
that's right, buddy.
Jason, would you like to talk about your hobby progress?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for this. So I finally finished building the orc bikes. I thought that was going to take me 2 weeks. It took considerably longer. Still need to start priming them, and I still need to prime and paint them. I did quite a bit of building this last couple of weeks. Built the new Lord Inquisitor Draxus. It's a great sculpt, and that dragon, which is named Shang, but I'm going to refer to the dragon as Lockheed.
Yes, Lockheed, clearly.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to the Inquisitor as Ilyana Rasputin. For those of you from the New Mutants, Excalibur, X-Men, there's your nerd deep dive for the win. Anyway, the dragon's pretty fun. My only concern was that the contact points were so small that I had to really manipulate it to get it to work right. But it's a great mini. I really dig it.
I was going to ask you about those content. It's a really slight model. I've having put together some Drukhari quasi recently. Yeah. I can imagine how that must be.
Well, because I placed it and I was like, okay, this doesn't look right. And I kept kind of I don't know if Adon listens to us or not, but I was doing the Adon. I was dry fitting and trying to figure out if it would fit. And I put the glue down, the gel, and I noticed the tail was completely it looked as though it should have had a second tail. And I thought, oh, this is not right. And so I managed to slide it into place before it dried on me.
That's good.
But yeah, it's a great model. I mean, the dragon's really, slight. It's definitely almost a Drukhari model, but she's in power armor, and that's really cool because there's you can tell it's a human in power armor, and so there's more bulk in certain areas. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Comparatively from in a Space Marine, they have that skin tight synth skin or whatever it is, the black carapace, which helps it be a little more form-fitting. But the humans, all of their human features are going to be very small. So the small head is going to be on just a big chunky armor. So that makes a lot of sense.
So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to, of course, airbrush the base coats and the base colors, but I'm going to have to do this is mostly going to be using actual brush, because it's just too small. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else. So as I was working on my orcs, I started putting together this gubbin, something cool to put on the back of a bike, but the scale didn't feel right. And so I said, okay, I'm not going to use this. And I started adding bits to it. And so during almost every recording session that we've done for this episode, in the last episode, in all of our games, I've been just adding more and more to this Inquisition gun platform. I don't know what this is. It's going to be cool. I don't know what it is. So I just need to find a unit profile tip for it now. Let's see. Oh, the Indominus Marines. Yeah, I have a list here, everyone. I actually, so I can keep on track. So I'm building those now. I haven't finished the multi-melted guys. That they have a cool name, and I don't remember what it is. and I haven't finished the assault intercessors, but everything else I finished. So what was fun about this was I was supposed to get it over a week ago. It was supposed to come in on like Thursday the 3rd, but it got routed from San Antonio. So I went from New York to San Antonio to Hunt, which is some small town in Texas, then back to San Antonio, then to my hometown, then back up to New Braunfels, which is about 5 hours away, and then it came back to my hometown. So these guys obviously had some sort of deep strike problems, or were lost in the warp, or I don't know. I had at one point I just went through and put the tracking details in my phone so that it would text me, and it just started texting me from random cities. And I thought, is someone trolling me? No, this is from the Postal Service. So it was weird. So as I've been messing with them, there's a lot of details on these minis you just don't see in the official GW pictures. The chaplain has half of his head is a metal plate, which I did not see that when I was looking at I didn't notice it when I was looking at the GW pictures, but when I built it, I realized that that's what was going on. The Judicar has these really cool knee pads, these greaves that are really kind of very ornate and almost kind of remind me a little bit of Age of Sigmar. One other cool thing is the Ancient that's carrying that skeleton banner. Well, the skeleton in the banner is missing its left hand, and the Ancient is actually carrying that left hand on like a set of keys in his left hand. And the skeleton on the banner also has like a data port in the chest. So it's like really cool little details that, really, really kind of make the miniature for me. Let's see what else. I'm working on a repulsor. I think I've almost built. I'm just trying to figure out the weapon loadout. For our hobby, we've both been reading over those 9th edition materials. We've had to do it quickly. I'm going to pick up a warsuit, which we'll talk about this more later in the episode, but I did use it in one of our games for Tabletop Simulator, and now I have to buy a warsuit because it did well. So what about you, Adam?
So for me, I did, I built the Gazgul project that I've been threatening to do.
Hey.
So I bought I bought the new Seraphon Ruins, which is this ziggurat pyramid thing.
Yeah.
And I almost did it. I pretty much did it by the instructions, but I put all the decorations and stuff on one half. So I put some mushrooms, some orc glyphs and stuff, all on one side of it, on one half of it. The other half is totally pristine. So I built the new Gazgul model, and I kind of positioned him, did a dry fit of him on trying to climb the ziggurat. So I did cut into the ziggurat and make some rubble parts where it's been kind of scraped away by Gazgul's claw. And so I'm going to... I was able to get it to fit pretty well. So those two Gazguls are going to be staring at each other through this portal thing.
That is cool.
Thanks. And I think my plan is to get a plastic bucket and bisect it.
Okay.
Except for the bottom, which is I'm gonna keep the bottom of the bucket, where it is.
Right.
And I'm gonna put a Lazy Susan in there, so that the display can rotate, so you can either see the old Gazgul side or the new Gazgul side, and I'll have a different kind of... I'll have the same title for each one, except it'll say, Gazgul stares into the future, or Gazgul stares into the past, or whatever.
Oh,
depending on what side. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. It's going to be a lot of work, so I'm not diving into that just yet. I'm going to get some of the Vallejo primer for that project, because I want it to be as nice as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look pretty cool.
Thanks.
I remember seeing pictures of it and thinking, wow, that is over the top,
man. Parts arrived for the Thunderhawk. Thanks, Colin. I appreciate that. I washed them, and kind of position them, dry fit them, try to see where they would go. I settled on the K-Wing. There is going to be little kid music in the background. If you can't stand that, I'm sorry. It's just going to have to happen. So I'm not sure. I have a feeling that these parts are not original parts. My Thunderhawk is an original one, but these are still sweating mold release.
No, those could be original because there have been issues in the past with some of the.
Oh, so I wonder if this was like a return. Like, I wonder if maybe they got a new one from Forge World because this one was a defect.
I know about this because I think it was Carl actually who had some problems with some of his Zone Mortalis tiles sweating. So you might want to shoot him a message and see what he recommends.
Okay, because I really did. I soaked them and I washed them and with the dish soap and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I'll contact him and see what he did. So anyways, last night I got those wings put on, and I got some extra gubbins put on. So that's developing. I ordered a Green Stuff World tentacle roller.
Ooh,
my buddy Pat has one of those, and I got the XL one. I want to be able to do some nice thick cables.
Yeah.
Because the way the wings are on, the wings have engines on them, right?
Right.
So there's front engines and back engines. Now there's two pairs of back engines, top and bottom. The bottom one's fine. The intake and the exhaust and the thrust nozzle are fine where they are.
Yeah.
But the top one, the intake of the back engine and the thrust of the front engine are almost are almost parallel with each other.
Yeah.
No, not parallel. They're in tandem with each other.
Yeah.
So the thrust would be pouring into the intake, which even for orc vehicles seems a little silly. And also I'm short a pair of thrust and a pair of intake.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tentacle maker. I'm going to make some big thick cables going from the back end of the front engine to the front end of the back engine.
Okay.
And those are going to be, and then I'm going to actually have some cabling. I'm going to use that to do some more cabling throughout the Thunderhawk. So I think that'll look really cool.
So I have the tentacle maker, the tentacle roller from them, and that's what I was using to build. I think you saw those pictures where I was making the kind of tentacle servitors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they're super easy to make. I do recommend with green stuff, letting it sit for a bit because, if you're doing like a 1-to-1 ratio on the green or the blue to yellow, it is too soft.
Yeah. My thoughts are I'm going to do... I'm going to bend it, and I'm going to make them too long.
Okay.
And I'm going to make the correct bend to go from one engine housing to the other.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to leave it.
Okay.
Let it fully set. Then I'll trim it down to the right size.
Okay. Yeah.
After I do that, I'll add a cowling to both so that the contact point between the between the cable and the engine is just covered, so I don't have to.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That's better.
Whatever. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, just let it dry or let it set and just walk away from, because that's what this project is, the building. It's add epoxy, walk away.
Yeah.
Add epoxy, walk away.
Right.
So Yeah, I sold all my Necrons.
Yeah, I saw that in the notes. I don't know that I feel.
I've played with them once, and I don't have plans to play with them again. So I
Yeah.
sold them.
Okay.
And the person who bought them is going to play with his son at home on the sand table. That's so rad.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, and I got a
That is cool.
response from the person who bought my Emperor's Children yesterday, and he's
Yeah.
excited and he gave me positive feedback. So all my
Rad.
kvetching about those armies was for naught. But you know what? It's fine. Everything turned out fine.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're all good here. How about you?
how about
Yeah.
you? Um, so, and I gave away a bunch of other stuff. Some folks from the independent characters, I was like,
Yeah.
I really don't want these Warcry warbands sitting in my house. I'm
Yeah.
done with this. So, and I'm like, just trying to sell stuff is a pain in the neck. So I put an offer in the independent characters Patreon group. I'm like, if you make a donation to the NAACP uh, Legal Defense Fund that
Yeah.
is reasonable, I will send them to you for free.
Yeah.
So some folks did
Cool.
that. One person actually made the donation and said, I'm in the UK or whatever, or no, I think he was in Australia or
Yeah.
something. He's like, yeah, don't send those to me. Just give them to one of the other members of the group. Like, dude, that's awesome. I'll definitely do that. So that was really cool. So I got rid of those. Yay. I also bought a leaf punch from Green Stuff World.
I have not bought that yet. Let me know how that.
Yeah, a lot of people are extol its virtues. I've bought leaf clutter before, but it's hard to get in the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because due to the plant that makes the little leaves, that the seed pods that you use for that. So I guess the leaf punch is going to get you the same thing. You actually you go out and get leaves of different colors and you punch them out. You scatter them on your base and then you kind of give them the clear coat.
Yeah.
Looking forward to using that. I think on my Seraphon. My Seraphon needs some more leaf clutter or need another texture on their base to make them cool. And I think the leaf clutter will be perfect for that. So I also made a purchase for foam. Finally.
Oh yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting this. It's like $300 worth of KR foam. It's supposed to come 2 days ago, so I'm hoping it shows up today. But it is Saturday and being delivered by FedEx, so I'm guessing Monday.
Yeah. Probably.
Looking forward to getting my Drukarian foam because they've been taking up my display case for a long time, and I'm looking forward to actually taking them places when COVID finally, hopefully, recedes. I repainted my Stampa. I've been doing my repaint project, getting my army from the old schemes to the new scheme, and we've did a few hobby hangouts where I repainted my Stampa. Really glad to get that done. It looks a lot better. Stampa looks way better now in the new scheme. Really happy with that.
Yeah, I do like it. It's some great colors on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially that pendant on the front.
Yeah. Oh, Campbell from the Badcast turned me on to a company that sells rivets. Making rivets is a pain in the neck. I honestly don't own a leather punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess is what you use to make rivets. Because it actually kind of punches a hole, but it doesn't pierce the hole. It's actually a cylinder that cuts a circle out of the leather. And you do that with Plasticard, and then after you apply it, you sand the rivets into domes. I'm like, no, thank you. So this place called the Tichy Train Group, TICHY, Tichy Train Group, sells rivets of different sizes. I got the .05 rivets, 0.05 inch Um, so this thing actually has the rivet in its entirety. So it's the cap for the rivet and the post for the rivet. And then that goes down into the gating, the plastic gating, the way it's molded. Which is really smart because it actually tells you you can take a 1/32 inch drill and drill a hole in the model and just push the rivet in. That lets you take like a pencil or whatever, mark your spot, or a pen or a marker, mark your spot, drill the hole, and then just push it in. No dinking around with the rivet sliding on your model or whatever. Right. It just goes where it goes.
Huh.
I bought some drill bits the other. I didn't have a 1/32 inch. Actually,
I think I actually do.
Yeah. Mine have all broken.
Oh, so yeah.
At Walmart, the only place you find it is in the Dremel section. I don't own I do have a Dremel tool, but it's super loud and old.
Yeah.
But I'll just hand drill these in there. I'm looking forward to that. It looks really good on the Stampa, which I just use white glue. And I cut them down to the nub and I hand glue. But now that I bought the drill bit, I'm just going to drill the hole and push these in.
Wow. That's crazy, but you do you, man.
It's way better. I promise it sounds crazy, but it's way better than actually just trying to glue them onto the surface because you can pre-draw your lines where the rivets are going to go, and then you can put your dots where they're going to go. But anyways, and then you use just the paint will hold it in at that point. The friction of the porthole and the paint is more than enough. You don't even need glue to hold them in at that point.
Yeah.
Other than that, like the majority of my time the past few weeks has been prepping for this episode.
Yeah.
We've been reading the 9th edition rules, reading through Crusade. We've been playing games with each other and doing show notes, working on the campaign. Like it's been, and I've been putting a lot of effort into prepping all the gaming environments for Tabletop Simulator for both this episode and the episode of Altar of War with Mark. So it's just been, I've been spending hours and hours and hours doing that. So that's why there's like not been a whole lot of actual hobby from me.
You should go through and put those environments, those tables in Tabletop Simulator, like share them as part of like a Masters of the Forge workshop.
Oh yeah, I should do that. I could do like a download that people can use. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Because then you get to see what crazy, the audience gets to see what craziness that we get into.
Mm-hmm. So for games played, we've just been playing games with each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we can also go beyond the fringe.
Oh,
Quinn had a little ding for us there. Thanks, Quinn.
All right. So my Beyond the Fringe. So we've started recording with Zencastr. In my actual notes here in all capital letters is Zencastr, I love you. Would you like to have my children? I've been really impressed with it. Honestly, my noise reduction stuff I'm having to do that I normally do, either I'm not doing it at all or I'm doing, instead of like 20 to 30 minutes of working on it, it's like a minute or two, maybe. It's cut down so much work, and it goes through and gives you, so for instance, with the two of us, it gives us 2 files, and they sync together. I don't have to worry about lining them up. When Brian was with us, which, spoilers, the 3 of us recorded, it's going to line all of those up. When we record with Mark, it did the same thing.
In the past, I've had to record the remote as one file.
Yeah. And that's going to make things a lot better.
Yeah, I think the most recent episode where we had Zane on, you and Zane were on the same recording.
Correct.
Whereas now we would be on 3 different recordings, and you could adjust for each person individually, which is a huge deal. That's why Zencasters also might be on the fringe, because right now I'm recording with a fan on my junk. Yeah. And it's okay because of Zencasters source-based noise reduction, we're okay.
Okay, I had my visuals turned on in my brain, and when you said that, thanks, Adam, thanks.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's a good thing that your brain is a max or a solid state drive, so that you could reset quickly.
Yeah, whew, that was terrifying.
Also, for this episode, we're gonna just quickly skim over the astropathic communique because we talked about the new models in the last episode, and we're going to be talking about Engine War, War of the Spider, and Pariah in episode 147.
Yeah.
So, because of that, with no further ado, let's take a quick break, come back, and talk about Crusade with Brian.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slip Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slip Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Dark Lance shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slip, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slip Party Bus! The classic Slip Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slip Party Bus! If you love the Slith Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
All right, welcome back, everyone. As promised, we are going to give you a shallow dive into Crusade. And with us, we have Brian. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing all right. I was like, speaking of shallow dives, we have Brian.
Thanks so much for carving some time out to hang out with us, dude. I really appreciate it. Brian is one of the hosts of the Eldari podcast, Splinter Mind. If you are already, by the way, a listener of Splinter Mind, what you want to do is go into your podcast app, unsubscribe from Splinter Mind, and then go search for it again.
Yeah.
And resubscribe. That's a thing you want to do because you guys shifted your RSS feed a little bit, or you could go to Patreon and subscribe. And apparently you can add the RSS feed from Patreon and get all the episodes early in your podcast app. I didn't know you could do that.
This is true. This is very true. I was like, God, Adam, thank you so much for saving me a little bit of work. This has been it was a necessary life choice, but it is one of the poorer choices from a effort to things that you get out of it in life ratio endeavor. So yeah, I actually have to make a video today to like put up for people because we get the questions so frequently, and I'm like, there's a pin post. It doesn't matter. Like, I understand, like technology is supposed to make our lives easier, and it has just made it infinitely harder, and iTunes can cease to exist in a fire as far as I'm concerned. And
thank you. That makes editing easier.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
See, you got a pro on, kind of.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, once is good. So Crusade, first of all, thanks for all your work. You guys did a lot of play testing for Crusade, and it really shows that some really decent effort was put into this, some real love, and it's kind of exactly what I wanted. It's funny when GW was asking for ideas for articles for the Warhammer community website. I did one for my orc army, which I'm like, this is kind of dumb. It's just a blog post about my army. But I also have this idea for a blog post about doing your own narrative, because we've done an episode about this before, of doing your own narrative for your own army in parallel with your other games and stuff. Like, we're not gonna do that one. Why? Because we have an entire system for it in this book.
Yeah.
That would have been a pointless article.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Quinn thinks it's funny. So I know that there have been, I haven't actually listened to these people, but there have been a few narrative community leaders who have kind of poo-pooed this system, and this is not going to be a thing we're doing. And you know, we're not sycophants over here.
Sure.
We are definitely happy to give criticism where criticism is due. I don't think any criticism is due here, except for possibly how it's ordered in the book, but we'll get into that later. So Crusade Force, let's talk about how you put together a Crusade Force using your army. You select a faction, and it has to be Imperium, Chaos, Eldari, Tyranids, Orcs, Necrons, or Tau Empire. So they have to have every unit in your army, in your force needs to have one of those keywords, share one of those keywords. Having said that, I mean, you do you.
Right.
But baseline, that's what they expect from that. Every detachment should probably just continue to share their subfaction keyword, because Battleforged is still a thing in narrative play. So if it's not Battleforged, you're not going to get all of your faction bonuses. So you probably still want to do that. But when it comes to a force, you know, consider the concept of adding these thematic detachments. Yeah. So if you've got Sisters of Battle, for example, maybe you want to add maybe a unit of Scions as this rapid strike force, as maybe a what's the name of that Astra Militarum force from the Faith and Fury book? I forget the name of them, but they're they're like super pious Astra Militarum guys who join the Sisters of Battle and the Ecclesiarchy in their battles, and they have like really ostentatious armor and crap like that. Like, that's exactly what that's for. You're not souping to get a benefit out of your army. You're not trying to overwhelm your opponent. You're adding flavor,
right?
And I think that's really important to carry forward from the Battleforged system. Same thing with like Chaos. Like, maybe you have some Emperor's Children and they're haunted by a coterie of like Slaanesh demons. Right?
Yeah.
Why not? And not just, you can still like summon and whatever, but they're not counted as part of your Crusade force. You can still use your summoning and kind of requisition from. It's almost like what's that game? Necromunda, where you can hire guys from outside your force sometimes.
Right. You can have like hangers on and things like that, right?
And that's kind of what summoning is. You have those command points you can spend to get an assassin in or something like that. So the supply limit starts at 50. Supply limit is basically the power level of your entire force. not necessarily what you're going to take in every game, but it's the maximum power level you can have in your force. And that goes up and down as you go. Every unit will have a power level, obviously, but also every unit will have a Crusade points, which affects how powerful it is on the battlefield, but it doesn't affect your supply limit. It doesn't affect their power level, because it goes up and down. So that would be really weird as far as the Crusade force goes.
What I would throw in here is that the easiest way, when I read through this for the first time, when they sent it, there were like different versions of it, but the easiest way for me to wrap my head around it, or like people that I've had that have like asked me about it when I'm trying to explain it, is think of it like Kill Team. You have a roster, but you don't have to bring every single thing for it. So even though you're starting at a 50 power level, there are a bunch of like 25 power level combat patrol missions that you can play, and they are fun and they are good, and it's really easy to like push your story using those. But the thing that I would the other comparison that I like to use for this system is to really think of it, if you play Blood Bowl, some of this stuff will really make sense to you as far as like experience and leveling up. There are a lot of parallels with that, but the cost of something going up, like as they get upgrades and experience, just like with Blood Bowl, if you have a 70,000 gold crown dwarf lineman, right? They have, when they gain their first skill, they go up 20,000, like their value goes up. So think of it, kind of think of it that way. Like if you know Blood Bowl, the system will like actually really make sense when you look at it.
Right. And you're right, because in Blood Bowl, you can put whatever players you want on the field up to a maximum. And that's kind of what we got going here. The power level of your units never change. Whatever game you play, if you're playing 25 power level, you could have 25 power level worth of super experienced units.
Right.
But their Crusade points are going to also be very high, which gives your opponent a benefit if yours is higher than theirs. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But it's balanced in that way so that, let's be honest, models on the battlefield has a really strong balancing factor, right? It's always, people complain about Stern Guard veterans and how many upgrades you can give them, and they're technically really high power level if you or technically really low power level if you just load them up with upgrades. It's still 10 guys with 10 wounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Shoot bullets at them. So, I think it's really smart to maintain power level baseline and then add some benefits to somebody who has a higher Crusade points.
Right.
Or sorry, to someone who has the fewer Crusade points. So you can add, one thing I was a little confused about is like, how do you increase your supply limit? Well, that comes later with requisition points as you play games and win or lose, you'll get requisition points. You start with 5 and you gain about 1 per battle, maybe more in some situations. I haven't read all of the scenarios, but the reason for that, and that's the maximum you can have in your order. You can't just sit on requisition points.
Right.
The reason you start with 5 is, I think, because you don't get your warlord trait and free relic right off the bat, because you could have multiple warlords in your army. You could have multiple characters who are the possible warlord for a game, right?
Right.
And to get a free relic and free warlord trait at the start of a game wouldn't really make any sense, because these are the same characters going from game to game to game.
Right.
Why would they change their warlord trait? It doesn't make sense. It's
like I have this amazing command ability as, a Dracon or whatever, but then, the Archon's here. I guess I don't remember how to do that anymore. It doesn't make sense. But the cool thing though is that, if the character that you've bought a warlord trait dies, you can actually sort of like hand it off like a football to another character because you paid the requisition points for it. So that part of it, like, thematically feels a little bit weird, but it's like that little upgrade or relic that you've bought gets handed off to somebody else, which is kind of cool. Which is like Necromunda, where, you know, you have a gang member that dies, as long as you aren't like completely routed and leave all your stuff on the field, you can pass on that equipment to the next, or the weapons to like the next fresh recruit. It's like, hey, this is covered in blood. It's fine. You're good.
Just shake it off. Just shake it off.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think it allows characters to have a little more character.
Yeah.
This is my guy. This is my model who has, who's really good at commanding those around him, and he provides a reroll to morale or whatever. Whereas this guy's a total jerk and just wants to murder people, and he gets exploding 6s or whatever on hits. It really makes a lot of sense. So RPs don't make any allowance for specialist attachments, by the way, which does not surprise me whatsoever. We had specialist attachments in Vigilus, and they were never to be seen again. I think that's quite telling, especially considering the changes or the cool special detachments we have in the Orc book. I don't know how. I don't know. I'm actually quite surprised that specialist attachments are still a thing. I would have thought that they would have done away with those entirely, but. Anyways, with the requisition points, you have, again, like I said, one RP, you get +5 to your supply limit, so you can add 5 power level to your army, to your Crusade force for 1 RP.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
In our game, in our little campaign we played later, we just increased it at the end so we could play a bigger game. But as you go, I think this is a great way to develop your force and even build models and stuff and add whatever you want, because you can add and remove units however you want. It's just when you remove a unit from your Crusade force, it loses all of its upgrades. So keep that in mind. Fresh recruits, you can increase the number of models in a unit, and you get to keep all your upgrades. Like if you're blooded or whatever, just keep in mind your Crusade points might increase, because the more power level a unit is, the more. It's kind of an exponential thing. The more models you have in a unit, the more powerful you are. So the Crusade points are going to go up a little bit. Resupply. You can change so normally a unit can't change its war gear. Now, if you're adding, Crusade benefits like a relic or something you got from doing battle, that's fine. But if you already have, say, the assault bolters on your intercessors, you can't swap that out for the rapid fire ones. But rearm and resupply allows you to swap out the war gear on your units. You can't swap out a weapon that has a weapon enhancement, because your unit's like, you gave me this as a gift for the thing I did. Why would I give this up?
Right.
That would be a real hit on morale, wouldn't it?
I'm going to take this cool scope you just gave me, and I'm just going to put it on this other gun. They're like, nope.
Right? That would be ridiculous. Who would want that? Why are you covered in brown stuff? You're fine. So next is repair and recuperate. So you can remove a battle scar from a unit. And then adjust the Crusade points as needed. We'll talk about a few battle scars later. Psychic meditations, so you could swap out your psychic powers, because I've always felt like in tournaments and stuff that should be on your list, because your guy has that power. Right? I feel right. That's his power. Why would they know a different power? So this lets you swap those out. Specialist reinforcements. So this one's really cool. So instead of paying CP before the game begins for unit upgrades, you pay for them when you bring on your unit into the army. For example, orcs. orcs have an heavy armor upgrade. Takes you from 6+ armor to 5+ armor. When you add one of those units to your force, you can give them the heavy armor upgrade. And that's the only time you can add heavy armor is when you add the new unit. Is that correct, Jason? Or Brian? I feel like that's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. But your Crusade points increase by a number equal to the CP cost of the stratagem. So this costs 1 RP regardless. No matter how many CP the stratagem would cost you, it's just 1 RP. But your Crusade points for that unit go up by a number equal to the original CP cost of the stratagem.
Right.
Thus granting your opponent more CP. It's kind of like a bookkeeping shuffle, but I think it makes I think it makes sense.
Cooking the books.
Yeah, you can use 1 RP to give someone a warlord trait. So again, this is what you would do. You would give this to somebody at the start of your Crusade force, or not, I guess, but I would. And relic. You can add a relic to a character for 1 RP.
Right.
In both of these cases, you can't just be swapping out. You can't be swapping crap out. And each warlord trait increases your Crusade points by 1 or by 2 if you're a Titanic unit like Imperial Knight.
Yep.
Because it's technically more effective on a higher point model.
Yeah.
So those are the requisitions. Now I find that like a really fun way to build a force. I love bookkeeping personally. I like all this stuff. I know that there will be a few players out there who find it somewhat difficult to keep track of all this. But the cool thing is GW has provided some sheets that you can photocopy in the book to do this, and looking at those sheets makes it a lot easier to visualize what we're talking about. Once you're looking at that sheet, so if you started with a blank paper and tried to go through this, it would be very confusing. But if you look at the actual rosters in the book, you say, "Oh, there's a blank space I need to fill. What is that?" And then you look it up, and it becomes a lot easier to figure out.
It's like the Blood Bowl team roster sheets. Mm-hmm. Like when you look at and sorry to keep going back to Blood Bowl, but it's the closest thing as far as how it works. But it's like, I remember when I played Blood Bowl for the first time and they were like, these are all the things you have to track. And I'm like, good God, how do you do that? Because it's like, I mean, it's like having, even if you're playing sevens, it's like you have like 8 or 9 individual players that you're tracking, if they pass a ball, if they injure somebody, if they score, like there's different things. And it's like this, it's like you kill a thing, you get a point. There can be different agendas that can modify that and, those sorts of things, but it's not that bad to track. I mean, my understanding looking at the announcement for the app is that the app that they're coming out with won't track this, which I think is a really big missed opportunity. But looking at the Blood Bowl community and what they've done, like, in the Blood Bowl community, they've had, even before they rebooted the game, they've had like Excel's, spreadsheets that you can plug everything into and track it pretty easily. So it looks really bookkeeping intensive, but it's really not.
Yeah. Once you get it in there, I think it'll be very easy. And I promised Jason I would come up with a spreadsheet for him to use for our.
Because I'm terrible
game.
At Excel.
But again, if you photocopy these rosters, you should be fine.
Yeah.
And you'll keep track of your battle tally and battles won and stuff for your army as well, which there's technically no effect for in the game right now, but that's a cool thing to keep track of because that's something you could add yourself for your own campaigns. So next, let's dive into Crusade cards. Now, Crusade cards are where you keep track of the unit's efficacy. In the things you've added to the unit, which includes your power rating and your Crusade points, again, which are which adjust when you play a battle, you add up all your Crusade points, and you compare them to your opponent's Crusade points, and then whoever's at a disadvantage gets more CP during the game. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's basically, sorry to go Blood Bowl again, it's like inducements. When you play against a higher ranked team, except for on that, you get to buy, I get bribes for the ref and things like this. You just get extra command points.
Which can be technically bribes for the ref, technically.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, you just get to do extra little things, and especially if you're playing a smaller game, like a combat patrol, getting an extra 2 command points where you're not really starting out with that much because the other player's force is, juiced up a little bit is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Be. A few command points in a 500-point game can be a big deal.
Yeah.
So that means Crusade points can actually be a negative number. If you're say you decided, okay, let's play a small combat patrol game of 25 power each, where my 3 units that died in the last game are trying to redeem themselves. And so you have 2 troops choices and an HQ who all have injuries from the last couple of games. So you want them to go in and redeem themselves. So you're with those injuries, you might be at -3. You're at a -3 Crusade points for that game. So you may end up with a bonus CP because they're feeling very they're energized to redeem themselves, I guess. So you pick your faction keywords for the unit as well. So if you were playing the story of some salamanders and some crimson fists going against the Necrons in the Pariah system because those planets are nearby. When you add an intercessor squad to your army, you have to pick either crimson fists or salamanders for that unit. That unit can't play for either team. That's not a switch hitter. Other stuff like war gear choices and etc. Those all need to be picked, and stratagem upgrades. Those need to be picked ahead of time using RP. It also tracks number of units killed via various means. Units killed does matter for XP, but you're kind of going to do that as you go anyways. But again, keeping track of kills and stuff might be something that you add to your campaign yourself. Yeah. Get him. This is really professional segment, right?
It's staying in there.
You have a number of times marked for greatness, which is a thing we'll talk about in a little bit. So experience. Let's talk about it right now. Y'all have chosen some really cool ways to earn experience. Obviously, everybody gets 1 after each battle.
Yeah.
Whether you are a casualty at the end or not.
Right.
You also get a total of +1 XP for every 3 enemies killed in general. It's called Dealers in Death. Marked for greatness, any 1 unit gets +3 XP. So Jason and I had a chat about this. Mm-hmm. I really think our players out there, the listeners of Masters of the Forge, should keep in mind that you should only give this to units who deserve it.
So
don't give this to the one you want to upgrade. They don't deserve it.
Right. So this is like the Blood Bowl MVP thing, right? Uh-huh. But the way that I look at this one, this is almost like, oh God, I'm turning this into a Splinter Might episode. I'm going to throw a random hockey reference in here.
Oh, that's fine.
That's fine.
So this is like when a visiting team comes in and wins the game. Usually for the San Jose Sharks, the radio broadcaster for the Sharks, Dan Ruzanowski, is the person that chooses the 3 stars of the game, the first, second, and third star of the game. I think as long as your opponent isn't if you're playing the system, chances are you're not playing against, a real Richard. You're welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
I honestly think, I was thinking about this morning, like as I was going through and rereading these rules for this, I was like, I think you should really let your opponent pick the MVP, the person that gets it, like the one, because sometimes there'll be a unit that you think absolutely mopped and cleaned up, and they're like, like with my Drakari army, I know a lot of times people are like, I can point to the unit that killed the most stuff, but they're like, you know what unit ruined my plans?
What
it was
actually stopped me from winning?
That 85-point Chronos was actually your MVP.
Yep.
Because of what it, because it like helped the other unit re-roll ones in combat and nuke this thing and prevented me from getting on this objective, So I honestly think you should let, if you're playing with friends, which you should be if you're playing this system, I'm a fan of letting your opponent pick the MVP because otherwise, it feels a little gamey. It's like, well, this guy's 2 points away from an upgrade, so I'll give him the 3 and,
I agree. I think that if you want a specific unit to gain XP, perhaps that's it. That unit is looking for glory. That unit is looking to achieve something to show that they are worthy of the upgrades or the accolades that you want to get from that XP. And that's how you can fold in agendas.
Yep.
Use an agenda that will give that specific unit the opportunity to gain XP. And that's the most narrative way of doing that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So agendas are kind of secondary objectives that you use in Crusade games to get XP for your units. Those agendas they're not going to give you victory points in the game. I mean, they may. They're kind of tied in with things that give you VP, but by themselves, agendas do not do that. However, the fact that they are wrapped up with objectives and stuff in the game does add a layer of believability to them. It's not like a game of Drunken Commander where you're going wherever for no reason. You're actually coming up with narrative reasons for the unit to do what they're doing.
Right.
Has that been in the system? Well, you can't really say, so I'm not going to ask that question. So named characters, swarms, right? Drones, fortifications, and summon units don't gain XP. I think the fortification one, if your opponent is playing Imperial Fists, go ahead and let them add XP to their fortifications.
Especially if their fortification is a giant sweet bunker.
Yeah.
That's
And
why not?
They've customized it. Yes, do it.
Sure.
That bunker probably has a machine spirit anyways.
Sure. Probably has 2 of them.
Yeah. Clearly. Also, if you're playing Nurgle Demons and they have Sassy Nurgling as one of their Nurglings, go ahead and allow that swarm to gain XP because those Nurglings are rad. That's a cool unit. I'm not joking. So rank XP.
Oh, I didn't think you were.
Yeah, no. XP gets you rank. So 0 to 5 is rank like 0, battle ready. After that, every 10, 15, it's exponential, or at least on a curve. Because the more powerful you are, the easier it is to gain XP anyways.
Right.
You get every rank, you get a battle honor. Every battle honor you get increases your Crusade points, so you're more powerful. And the battle honors are not purchased with RP. At first, I thought that's how you were going to get these battle honors. No. Right. The only way a unit gets battle honors is if they... And here we go. I'm going to put him down for his nap, okay, guys? Okay. Sorry about that. Go ahead and get yourself a snack. The only way you're going to get battle honors is through experience for that specific unit. And I think that's a good way. Do you think that maybe do you think that's the right call, Brian? Instead of just buying whatever battle honors you want with RP?
Yeah, because I mean, with the battle honors thing, I mean, if you think about like the stratagem for Space Marines, right? With the veteran intercessors, it's like, why don't you earn it? And then the points will their Crusade total will make up for the new abilities and do those things. But it also makes everything a little more interesting too, because spending that requisition point to upgrade the weaponry or change it, well, it might be that you end up getting a battle honor that allows your unit to do something where it makes sense to give them more assault weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and it just makes it a lot more interesting. And even the way that you generate the honors, I think I like that system a lot better than just choosing, because then just choosing is it feels too much like a list building mechanic.
Right. I do almost feel like specialist reinforcements should be a thing you can add to an existing unit. In my opinion, I really like, if I want to give heavy armor to a unit of boys who did a good job, I almost feel like that should be a thing that you can do. But you can play your games however you want, obviously, as we always say.
Well, and there something to keep in mind too is that, I mean, when they go to add, if they add supplements or redo codexes and things like that, there could be ways to build those things in. You know what I'm saying? Like right now we're starting from a generic rule set, and then, I mean, this thing is, they're going to expand it a lot. So
yes, they have definitely said, and this was kind of a duh situation, but they have told us that codexes going forward will have Crusade content in them.
Yes.
So so you'll have more battle honors, and probably more secondary objectives, and probably more different ways of upgrading your characters in Crusade. So let's talk about those battle honors a little bit. The first grouping is battle traits. And there's 4 tables for this. 1 for characters, 1 for monsters, 1 for vehicles, and 1 for other units. Jason and I went through and we picked 1 from these tables to be our favorite. Well, to just be the one we want to talk about anyways. There are some...
Mine's my favorite.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
So was it the battle trait? I picked the character table... Resilient, which is essentially the old feel no pain rule. Every time you take a wound, roll a d6. On a 6, the wound it's not lost.
That's cool. Yeah. And some of these are more inspired than others, but that's because it's a very abstract game and there's very few things you can do with a model. So there's going to be like a 1 for adding 1 or re-rolling 1s to hits or +1 attack or something like that, which is very simple. But it's something that you're going to want to buy for your units anyways. I picked Elite Crew for a vehicle. Reroll hits of 1 when resolving attacks made by vehicle models in this unit. So I thought it was very interesting that it use that language, Brian, because I think later or earlier it said that you gain experience for each vehicle or monster in a unit separately. You still take them as a unit in a game, but each vehicle or monster gains XP and stuff individually during a game. So I was just a little confused by that language.
Yeah. And I have to admit, it's kind of early, so my brain is not tracking that.
Well, either way, I love that. Not because it's just reroll hit rolls of 1. It's very milquetoast in that regard. But I love the idea of having an elite crew and upgrading an elite crew. So for Space Marines, I would be ripping a door off and putting a Sternguard veteran model in there as the tank crew, right? For my Digga's army, I have Corporal Tucky sitting in his Chimera. Corporal Tucky is gonna get elite crew. He's got his chicken sandwich and he's tubby and happy. That is going to be my elite. So yes, I highly recommend just going nuts and smashing your models to pieces and rebuilding them to reflect the battle traits they've earned during their games, personally. Or swap out models, right?
Yeah.
So you have generic Chimera number 8, and you happen to like say, all right, I'm going to roll for the upgrade on this because I really don't care. And you get Elite Crew, and you're like, well, I guess I'll start using this other model instead because this better reflects an Elite Crew. Maybe add some cabling and extra gubbins to your las cannons on your Land Raider if it gets an improved weapon of some kind, armor bane, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and if you get like enhanced engines, I mean, I'm always in Drukhari mode, unfortunately, but you can gussy up the sail or add a second sail to that Raider if you want to. I mean, there are a lot of cool like modeling opportunities that you can do with it that are fun. And as you play a campaign, you have the drive to do those things, because your models should be painted before you play. And yes, I'm judging on that. So it gives you a chance to go back and add something, or maybe add a sail that has a little more, I mean, you want to express yourself, right? It needs more pieces of flair on it somehow. Flair. So there you go.
We're on the same table. And for non Eldari vehicles, what's stopping you from getting your Dremel tool out and cutting a hole in the bottom of that tank and just put some magnets on the inside of the hull, and you can add whatever the hell you want on the outside by using that methodology. Yeah. So you can also get weapon enhancements. There are 2 tables for that, one for ranged, one for melee. The cool thing that they did here was all of the ones that are appropriate for vehicles, characters, and monsters are a 4+ on that table, and all of the ones that are good for non-characters, vehicles, and monsters are the 1 through 3. So if it's a non-character, vehicle, or monster, you roll a D3. If it's a character, vehicle, or monster, you roll a D6. Again, you can pick if you want. It's not a big deal. Jason has picked his favorite. Go ahead.
Under melee weapons, razor edged, so you improve the weapon's AP by 1.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah, I thought that'd be pretty nice.
And just paint it like extra shiny. give it that third edge highlight. Go ahead.
There you go.
Well, some of these are crazy.
Oh yeah,
like Redder, like a 4+ always wounds.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's not like against infantry or it doesn't work on Titanics. It's like you could have a succubus running around with like just a basic impaler or something, and you're like, yeah, they just wound everything on 4s.
Mm-hmm. Now, just keep in mind, this is one weapon in the unit, not like all the bolters in your Space Marines unit. It is a bolter in that unit. Right. So keep that in mind.
And that Shredder's only, I mean, it's a 5. So, I mean, if your unit's only rolling a D3, it doesn't have access to it. So,
right. But it's really nice to put it on those, like a plasma gun or something like that. That's a really cool relic one. And of course, again, be sure to add a super sweet upgrade to that model. I picked Autoloader. Autoloader is pretty cool. It's in the ranged weapons. And that's one you can add to anything. Each unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Again, it's called Autoloader, but you can call it whatever you want. Obviously, a plasma gun isn't going to have an autoloader. Maybe it has some other cool piece of equipment that does the same exact thing. So, next is the Psychic Fortitudes. This is obviously something you add to a psychic unit. I don't think it makes any specification on whether it's a multi-unit, multi-model unit. No. So there are 3 options here. Psychic Might, Adamantium Will, and Master of Lore. +1 to Manifesting, +1 to Denying, and add 1 to the number of powers they know. That's awesome. I really don't have anything to say about that except that That's incredibly awesome.
You remember that one chart where you could get some stuff? Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I love the idea of adding to the repertoire. So you can also add relics. I am loving how the relics are set up, because you can't just give somebody a vortex grenade. They have to earn the right to get a vortex grenade. I love it. So you have 3 levels of relics: artificial relics, antiquity relics, and legendary relics. Mm-hmm. Artificial relics, any character can get. You can the first upgrade out of the barrel can be an artificial relic, and these are going to look familiar to you. They kind of look like some of the more generic upgrades from the Space Marines Codex. The example that we're using here is the Frenzon injector, just because it's a something that we've heard from in the lore in the past. Cavalry, infantry, biker, monster. You can reroll advance and charge rolls made for that unit and add +1 to the attacks characteristic in charge situations. Yeah, you've injected yourself with Frenzon. That's a thing that happened. But there's also things like +1 armor for mastercrafted armor, and conversion field, and artificial weapon, stuff that gives you kind of just very generic upgrades to that character. I also thought it's interesting that this hasn't been banned for Imperial Knights, which is nice. Because what else are you going to spend your stuff on? Right. I like that there's been no. I hate to harp on Imperial Knights, but I feel like they're in the bad boy house. So this is nice to see that. Yes, you can give your Imperial Knight Frenzon injector, but hey, there's a pilot in there. Right. So antiquity relics, you have to be a heroic or legendary character only. I forget what level heroic is. Oh, it's like 31 to 50 experience points is heroic. The example I'm giving is the Dark Age Displacer Belt. You can when you fall back, you can just pick them up and drop them wherever. They basically just teleport out of trouble, which is nice for a character. Legendary relics are for legendary characters only. These are characters with 50 plus XP. Obviously, the one I wanted to pick was the Vortex Grenade. All of its stats are star. Range 6 inches, grenade 1 use only. The unit suffers 3d3 mortal wounds. And then every unit within 6 inches, you roll a d6 on a 4+, they take d3 mortal wounds. It's a Vortex Grenade. And if you want, go ahead and put a small blast template on the battlefield. And that's just that's not in the rules, but you should do that. That's impassable terrain. That's definitely impassable terrain. Yeah, I am definitely seeing relics as a thing that gets expanded in the codexes and in the campaign books going forward. So battle scars. Oh, did you have a favorite in there, Brian, or did I hit on those?
Well, the one that I was going to actually hit on, and it's not because I think it's great or amazing, but it's just sort of indicative of what these relics look like and will look like. I mean, there was a big effort to go back and really try to bring back some of that old school flavor. Mm-hmm. Even going back to, I mean, when you think of a Vortex Grenade, I mean, that's going back to like second edition, the latest Rogue Trader sort of things. The conversion field causing, so it's, I mean, a conversion field is like whenever there's a 4-up save, old school players are like, oh, it's a conversion field. A 5-up is a refractor field, and they used to have a displacer field, which is a 3-up, but you actually teleported whenever you took a save, which could be really bad for you because you could teleport inside a solid object, and but it was Rogue Trader. It was all wacky fun. But with a conversion field, an unmodified save roll of a 6 causes a mortal wound to the closest enemy unit. within 1 inch.
Oh.
So, I mean, that's an old school, because a conversion field was supposed to like convert things to light.
Right.
You know, that could like blind things and do that way back in the day. So there are a lot of things that are like old callbacks with some of these things where it's like in game, that would be a really obnoxious thing to have to remember on top of the other 50 million things. But in Crusade, this is your special, you know, character that you're following and tracking the progression of, you know, like having these little weird, unique pieces of war gear is actually kind of cool.
That's
so it gives them a chance to like dig up some of that old school flavor for people that really know the armies and love them. I mean, this is just a generic one, but I mean, when they get into like specific ones for armies, you're going to get those cool things that are kind of lost from the game. And, you know,
and this is where I'm like, I'm glad I'm not listening to some of these naysayers out there, because reading through this, well, it's freaking annoying.
Sorry, Adam. When you mentioned the naysayers, I was just like, there are people that are crapping on this thing and they haven't even tried it yet. Like, I don't know.
There are hot takes out there that I'm not watching, but I can guess what they're saying, right? They're thinking, oh, but what about campaigns? Like, do your own campaign. We've all been doing our own campaigns forever. Even when Games Workshop is like, here's a campaign, we're like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do my own. Well, then, So this is a system for the players to improve their armies during a campaign. And one thing that I'm thinking of for campaign games is, what if you make up your own Crusade relic and you make it the actual objective of the game? Whoever actually picks up this relic at the end of the game, or has it at the end of the game, gets to use it in their army.
Yeah.
You legitimately get that in your army this is a thing you can do in your own campaign games.
Yeah.
And I love it. Look back in the lore, look for other relics. Like, if you're playing a specific chapter, I guarantee you there is old lore, or it's possible that there could be old lore or old rules that provided some kind of relic for that army. Well, recreate it for 9th edition and add it as a Crusade relic that you can either pick up through experience or pick up during a game. I've seen this a lot on some of the old Chaos Legions. I think the old Eye of Terror book had tons of relics that you could pick up.
Oh, yeah.
Convert all of those to Crusade relics. There's literally nothing stopping you from doing that.
Yeah, and the conversion work as far as like 9th edition, you know, jargon and terminology isn't going to be that hard to do.
No. If it in the past, if it was poison, you know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So another thing that happens over time is not something that you gain through experience, but you gain through lowercase e experience, and that is battle scars. I'm sure that there's a reason why units aren't totally destroyed. I think there's a feel bad feeling to that happening during a game, and it can make things difficult. If you want to add those to your games, go ahead. But in this system, when you're taken out of it, when a unit is out of action, you roll a dice. On a 2+, nothing happens. The unit is returned to efficacy. On a 1, you take either a devastating blow or a battle scar. And as far as I know, you just pick. On a devastating blow, you lose D6 experience. And you can't gain experience from agendas, battle experience, or mark for greatness during that game.
Yeah, because you roll for this before you dole out experience and everything. So on this thing, there's a lot about there's a hell of a lot that I like about Crusade. But what I like about this is that knowing it isn't a great chance, because like you're mentioning, that's kind of a weird feel. You know, like that's where, you know, in Blood Bowl, you embrace the wackiness. So you have that player who's like, oh, I'm just going to go for it on a 2-up to score a touchdown. And it's like, no, you tripped, ate excrement and died. And you tried your apothecary and hey, you died again. So, you know, you're like, wow, this simple little thing. I was trying to just run a little further and now I'm dead, you know, like, but in Blood Bowl, you embrace that wackiness. 40K, like, nah, not so much. But what I like is that this really changes the battle scars and just the general gaining of experience and agendas. You might have a character who, gets more points for like a headhunter type of thing. Like if they take out characters with a keyword thing, they get more experience. And you're like, it's going to change the way you play that unit versus a pickup game. In a pickup game, things get used as throwaway units all the time. Like I'm going to charge my raider because, it's like, well, if all of a sudden now you have these drawbacks or permanent damage you can possibly suffer, like you aren't just going to throw your units in as much, because them gaining the experience, like some of those ones with vehicles, like some of that stuff is pretty powerful. Some of those, weapon upgrades or experience upgrades. And so it'll still look like 40K, but it won't look like match play in that you aren't just, this isn't a chess piece that does a specific type of move that achieves a thing. So to me, it just adds more depth to your games, and it's a much more immersive experience.
Right. And I feel like if folks do want to include actual death, they can. So if I set up a heroic charge of say my Knight Gallant, and it goes into a Bloodthirster, and it actually rolls an explodes result and kills the Bloodthirster, I am not bringing that Gallant back in the next game. That Gallant died of a hero's death.
It super died.
It super died. By the rules, I would roll a dice. On a 1, I'd either take a devastating blow and lose experience, or 2, take a battle scar. But no, I'm actually going to replace that Gallant with another unit. And that's okay. It's okay. Obviously, we're not going to shame other players for choosing to do one thing or the other. But it's something you can choose to do as a player. You'll always get to replace that unit with something else, and maybe bring a unit back, bring a unit with a CP upgrade of some kind, the second option is Battle Scars. So you will, we have 4... we have 4 tables. When you have a battle scar, you'll have -1 crusade point, as we suggested or as we mentioned earlier, because it has less efficacy, so it'll count for less in the game. Jason, do you want to tell us which battle scar you picked as your favorite?
Oh yeah, because I went for the one that kind of grossed me out the most. The first one I saw, it was the one I saw and went, ugh, this is terrible. For a character unit, chest wound. Seriously, I'm not sure what else I have to say beyond that, except, you reduce the wound characteristic of one character model by 1, right, to a minimum of 1, but still that's, I saw that and I had this immediate visual reaction of this gaping, mess.
No, don't forget, you also can still spend a requisition to get this character some kind of bionic upgrade or replacement body parts somehow. And
you go down to the iDepot and you get a new one. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. The one I picked, my favorite, is one that is applied to any other unit. So mostly infantry squads and stuff, non-character, non-monster, non-vehicle units. And that is Disgraced. The unit has forgotten the name of its father. They cannot use any stratagems to affect them, or use command reroll stratagem to affect any dice rolls made for it. I thought this was a really cool thing to add to the list. It's not a physical thing that happened. There's also shell shock, but we won't go into the debate as to mental illnesses being physical illnesses, because they are. But Disgraced is really cool because it's very thematic. It's something that you can work through. Like I was saying before, maybe you play a quick game to repair the honor of that unit, and that's what you're doing to gain that RP back. Or you're going to use that RP to undisgrace that unit. Of course, if you screw up the that game, then they're going to stay disgraceless. Spoilers to that.
Oh man, can I get a favorite in this one too?
Yeah,
oh god, and this is, again, sorry, I just see everything. I have my Drakari tinted glasses on, which I'm pretty sure is like purple or magenta.
Oh yeah,
with a lot of spikes facing mostly inward. Loss of reputation on the character one. I just love this one. So it's if the character has any aura abilities, it's reduced by 3 inches because the rest of the army's like, oh, you're telling me to do what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah. You remember that unit of Grotz? Remember how that went? No, I'm not listening to you. Commander, stay in it, guys. Yeah, like you stayed in it on. Oh God, always with that. It's the nagging spouse one. Where they're constantly reminding you of that time that you just absolutely were a moron. And but if they don't have any aura abilities, they aren't able to benefit from the aura abilities of other ones. So it's like I'm just picturing like a Primaris lieutenant who's like, I'm not a fan of the aura ability thing of just like bubble hammer of making everything good around you, but it's like shoot more gooder, as a general aura. But I could just picture them like get barking out commands and efficiency, things like no, strike him into this, and then there's the one character who's sitting there with like a mastercrafted bolt rifle, and he's like, not you. But I mean, to think about it, though, I mean, the cool thing is you can get rid of this, but you have to pay a requisition point. It's like, no. You have to go through a battle and then not die. And, like you need to go redeem yourself and do that. So some of these, like this one, I think would be, I mean, if you're playing with an opponent that like knows you and knows your army and is good natured and fun and really gets into the whole thing, some of these ones, I'm like, if there was a really embarrassing situation, if my opponent was like, or the person I'm playing a campaign with is like, I want to just apply this result, even though it's like one of the worst ones you can possibly have. And I'm like, that'll work, or like if they get punched in the face by a, Redemptor Dreadnought or something like that, I'm okay with them going, yeah, I'm going to take the gaping chest wound one, especially if they're going to model it.
During our game, we actually rolled these just for funsies, but yeah, it's also cool. Like you were saying, if you actually take into account how the unit was taken out of action, why not? It's okay to pick. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're honest with yourself. Or just you, as we were saying with some of the other stuff that we were talking about, like the which model, which unit you were picking as the battle honor or whatever. Yeah. Talk to your opponent about it. Work together to see how this narrative plays out. That's what Crusade's all about. The Crusade is about playing the game in a narrative way. It's not about setting up campaigns. It's about how to fold the narrative into your games between two players. Yeah. Which I really appreciate. It's a great system for helping players come to that common place and actually care about the units that they're playing with. Sometimes you do need to sacrifice to set up a unit that you love as a sacrificial unit. And it actually feels, instead of like, I am going to put this as forward as a sacrificial unit, you're like, man, sorry, Sergeant Joven, but it's your numbers up, guys.
It's time to take one for the team, Sarge. It was a good run. It was a good run.
If you're gonna die, die with your boots on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's go into playing Crusade games. We've touched on a lot of this, so this will be a little bit more of a skin. Again, when you select your army, you pick a game size up to the maximum that your army can field, that the smallest Crusade force can field. So if your opponent only has a like 75 power level available to them, then don't play 100 power level.
Right.
So this goes into escalating engagements, or you could choose to start higher. But when you first start playing Crusade, I think going with the 50 is a good idea. it has the same faction requirements as match play, and I think that's one thing that is worth mentioning again. I think we talked about it in the last episode, but Games Workshop has seen kind of the writing on the wall when it comes to how people view matched play versus narrative play, and there is a default way to play, and a lot of matched play has been folded into the default way to play.
Yeah.
And in 9th edition, they have done that. They have folded a lot of the match play requirements into the default way to play. And I think that that's fair. And I think it's actually makes for more narrative games in some ways. For example, all of the Battleforged requirements are in effect here. Now, the rule of 3 does not apply in Crusade. So if you wanted to take 5 units of Nurglings, go ahead. Well, I guess there are troops. If you wanted to take 5 units of Sternguard vets, and you're running a super elite first company army, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's literally not. If you're running a spearhead of Talos with just a homunculus madman who's Dr. Frankenstein, that's totally fine. Now,
just a man and his toys.
Yeah. Let me think of another example. Oh, say you're running the craziest runt herd in history, and you've got a runt herd and a big mech and a bunch of killicans. God bless you. Go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Rule of 3 does not apply. Reinforcement points are used only for games that use points, not power level, but you do you. If you are really concerned about summoned units, go ahead and fold reinforcement points into your Crusade games. Just use power level instead of points.
Yeah.
That's not in the rules. That's just what I'm telling you. Your warlord must be the character with the highest leadership score. Again, this is a guideline. Rules are guidelines. If you want the leader of the Grot Revolutionary Force to be the warlord and the war boss is his lackey, that is your choice as an American citizen. Break the rules if you want to do that, or just make his leadership higher and increase his power level or Crusade points. Actually, that may be an upgrade you can do. Anyways, God bless Crusade. So that actually is a cool thing. You could start your force with the war boss as the leader, but then the Red Gobbo becomes the warlord based on Crusade upgrades. How cool would that be?
Yeah, that works.
That works for me. So you determine blessings. So this is where you compare the Crusade points of both players. So you've already decided, okay, we're going to play 25 power level, which is just the power level of the units. Then you tally up Crusade points. And the difference is how much CP the other player gets. So if I have 5 Crusade points and Jason has 2 Crusade points, Jason would get 3 CP to use during his game above and beyond the normal CP. Okay. Which is amazing how that it almost feels like it all just worked out. Like the CP system makes that so easy to do.
Yeah. Well, and with 9th edition and everybody starting with a level playing field with command points too. Like it's just, it's one of my single favorite best fixes from the edition.
That's one thing to mention, even with the requisitions giving you basically free CP upgrades to your units, the CP is the same as for a match play game. Adjusted by Crusade points, obviously. But you basically you are going to have more CP in a Crusade game than you would in a match play game, which I think is fine because stratagems make for some epic stories. I think especially since the command point reroll is only possible, it can only be used for very specific things.
Yeah.
Now, let's be honest. During our games, Jason, I did do what I usually do, and that's spend one command point before rolling to see if a vehicle explodes. To roll 2 dice to see if it explodes. You actually can't do that. It's not one of the things that you can get a CP reroll on. I feel like if I spend it before I roll, I should be able to do it. Because that's what I literally do every time.
Well, that could be the Masters of the Forge
yes.
special rule, because we both do that.
Yes, clearly. Yeah. Or you must spend 1 CP when a vehicle is about to explode, and then you get to roll 2 dice.
Yeah.
See, Carl gets free Vindicators. You get to roll 2 dice before. You get a special roll. It's fine.
Yeah, thank you.
We get free explosions. That's what we want.
Free explosions.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Boom.
So I did that once. I was playing against. Do you know Alexis? She does battle reports. Anyways, I was playing with Alexis, and I was using my Morkanaut, and Morkanaut was in the middle of the battlefield, surrounded by all of her characters and all of my characters, and I'm like, I'm going to spend 1 command point because she obviously killed it. She's playing Sisters of Battle. The Melta guns are going to kill the Morkanaut. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to spend a command point to roll 2 dice to explode. She's like, yeah, that tracks. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I rolled them, and boxcars, both 6s. Like, that was a good use of that command point.
Wow.
All the characters were dead.
Sweet.
It was amazing. It was the best day. So agendas. This is where the sauce is.
Yeah.
We talked about agendas before, how it's used to increase your XP for a specific unit. Well, not really a specific unit. This is a thing we were a little confused about at first, but after actually reading the rules, it's you. Go ahead, Jason. You pick your favorite.
All right. So my favorite was No Mercy, No Respite. The unit in your army that has the highest combat tally of enemy units destroyed during the battle earns 2 experience points. If 2 or more units are tied, you choose which unit achieves this agenda, which this is my favorite one, just because it's easy to tally up in Tabletop Simulator. How about that?
Well, and it's also good. Yeah. So again, if you're doing campaign games, you can say yes, you can pick your agendas, right? Mm-hmm. Or you could say, for this specific scenario, you must pick this agenda.
Yeah.
So that's what I was playing World Eaters in that game, and I was like, well, I have to pick No Mercy, No Respite.
Yeah.
So that's a thing you can do for your campaign games. You could say, well, in this specific situation, my army is actually going through and trying to figure out what the enemy is up to. We are doing a recon mission to see what the enemy is up to. So I'm going to take my Spirit Seer, and I'm going to take Scry battle plans. I have to, because that's the narrative for this scenario.
Right.
Scry battle plans is a Warpcraft agenda. So there are 4 different agenda types: combat patrol, or sorry, purge the enemy, No Mercy, No Respite, battlefield supremacy, shadow operations, and Warpcraft. That's 5. Anyways, there are different categories of these, and you can't pick more than one agenda from a category, which is a good balancing factor.
Right.
You don't want multiple ones for killing stuff. You don't want multiple ones for doing warp stuff.
Well, to make sure to keep it makes sure to keep a story in there.
Yeah.
With
yeah,
it.
you're not
It can't just be murder stuff to murder stuff. Like, you need something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even world eaters.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it away, but there's a reason why the world eaters were used in the last battle for this short campaign we did. So Scry Battle Plans is a psychic action, Warp Charge 4. I love the actions and psychic actions. It's such a cool system. And it's going to help me. I'm going to go through and redo our Zone Mortalis rules, and that's going to make doors so much easier. I'll just be like, it's an action. Doors are an action. Unlocking stuff is an action. Interfacing with this console, action. I'm gonna be able to delete like 2 pages of rules from that PDF. One psyker character unit from your army can attempt to perform this action if within 18 inches of an enemy character. Each unit gains 5 experience points if their Scry Battle Plans tally is at least 2. So this is so narrative. It's perfect. It's a perfect opening gambit for a campaign. I love it. Now, there are a bunch of Crusade missions. They're all based on what size game you're going to play, and it's very much like the other missions in the book. There's some for combat patrols, there's some for incursions, and there's some for strike forces. All the different sizes of games that you're going to play. You may feel like, I could play this scenario at a smaller points level, or I could play this smaller one at a higher points level. Don't let that stop you. Just consider why it might be a smaller or bigger scenario. Maybe it's a bigger scenario because there are 6 objectives on the battlefield.
Right.
Maybe decrease that number. Play with it, fiddle with it. You may decide that some of these matched play scenarios actually work great. You do you. It's a free country. Just keep in mind the match play scenarios do have secondary objectives, and you're going to be keeping track of both secondary objectives and your sorry, I forgot the word for it. Agendas. Keeping track of agendas is going to be tough to start anyways. So the more stuff you add to the scenario, the more complication it's going to be, and the more difficult it's going to be to remember this stuff. So just keep that in mind. Which is why it's so good to start with combat patrols, because you only have one agenda to keep track of. Mm-hmm. Incursion 2, Strike Force 3, Onslaught 4. So just keep that in mind. One thing I was looking, are agendas supposed to be secret, or it's just you decide if it's secret or not? It's up to you. Because some of them are, like the Shadow Operations ones, are ongoing objectives. You get points for holding areas. Deploy Vox relays. I feel like these are supposed to be secret.
I don't know. I thought they were supposed to be secret as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says select agendas. Each selects agendas for the battle, writes it down. Each can gain experience. The agendas chooses. If both players have selected their agendas, reveal their selections to their opponent.
Oh, okay. You do it right then. But they could be if you wanted them to be.
Yeah, you do you. You know.
Yeah. Jason and I actually put, like, in Tabletop Simulator, you can create hidden areas that only you can see. So we each created a little hidden area and kept our agendas written down. Of course, we could have just written them on a piece of paper on our desk.
Yeah.
Whatever.
My desk.
But why do that when you can do it online?
Yeah. You can remove the hidden area and be like, haha, look at this.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You can write it on a cocktail napkin, but you're like, or I can add more bits of useless information to the internet. It's fine.
So you play your game. You come back. You do your out of action tests real quick just to make sure you're able to gain XP. Then you update your Crusade cards with your XP and battle honors and combat tallies. The character, the character leveling portion of the game. and then you update your order of battle with your RP and stuff. And if you have time, spend them, or you can do it later offline. That's fine. I can see a lot of the stuff that was used in previous narrative play being used here as another layer, but this gives us the player layer, the game layer of the campaign system. And I really like the work that's been put into this. I really appreciate it. You guys did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do it.
You are a helper.
Yeah, I mean, we gave. I mean, a lot of this stuff was. Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. Until Games Workshop deigns to allow their developers onto our shows, I'm going to give you as much credit as I desire.
I just get it all. Yeah, but the problem with that though is I get all the blame when that happens too. So
True.
you gotta love the messages when people message and they're like, "You signed off on this," and I'm like, "Dude, they're not asking me. They're not asking my permission to do anything. They're just like, what do you think of this? They can take it or leave it, you know." So yeah.
One thing that proves
It's so terrible.
that the
I hate the
campaign,
internet.
the one thing that proves that campaigns are still going to be a thing,
Yep.
and you shouldn't panic, is the Pariah book. I'm going to touch on this now. We're going to be talking about this more in depth in the next episode. But the Pariah book has the last section of the book, the last section of the book are theaters of war. Now, throughout this series, they've been adding realms of battle, etc., 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 to your narrative play experience, which has been kind of a jumbly jumble. I think it's been a jumbly jumble since the beginning of 8th edition, and it hasn't bothered me, but I can see where players and people running campaigns would be scratching their heads like, okay, where do I use a theater of battle, and where do I use a realm of battle or whatever, theater of, whatever. It's been a little bit more complicated. With these theaters of war, they've kind of coalesced some of this stuff into one grouping of rules, which includes battlefield twists, mysterious objective markers, more terrain traits, which I was like, I'm going to make up my own anyways. Well, here they go. And stratagems, special stratagems. Now, again, they're not asking you to keep track of like 6 new stratagems for each theater of war. It looks like they have 2, which is fine.
Yeah, that's nice.
This is the battlefield layer to narrative play. So we've got our game layer, our list building layer, which are in the core rulebook, and here we have in the campaign book the battlefield layer. All that remains really is the scenario layer, which we do get missions in the core rulebook, and we have missions here in Pariah, of course, but I think the only thing we're missing is the actual scenario campaign layer itself, which I'm sure there's content coming for that. You make up your own stuff given the tools that we already have. And I think with the battlefield layer sorted and the army building layer sorted and the games layer sorted, adding that campaign layer is the thing that we do on our own anyways. I'm just looking forward to the next suggested method for doing that from Games Workshop. I don't have I'm going to make up my own crap, but it'll be good to have guidance on how to do that. And I know that it's difficult for you, Brian, to wax lyrical on that particular point because you know what's coming up, and that's fine.
As I often say, I'm just glazing streamers over here while people are talking.
So what we did is we went through and Jason and I, we played a Kill Team game, which is the first time we've played Kill Team in a long time.
Yeah.
Then we played a Combat Patrol and an Incursion and a whatever the next level is. Onslaught, I think.
Yeah.
Game in Tabletop Simulator. It was really nice to play a game with you, dude, and a few games with you. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance. I haven't even listened to your latest episode, Brian, because we've just been so busy working on this stuff. And it really is unfortunate that those leaks came out because we had planned on doing this for the Monday release.
Yeah.
But I think this is good content. I really appreciate you coming on, Brian, and talking to us about this.
Sure.
It's been a long segment, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Give us your insight on this.
Yeah. Man, can I add one thing before I go?
Oh, yeah. Please.
So I'm really... I apologize that I keep making the Blood Bowl thing, but it's just like an anchor point that I think some people... You know, a lot of narrative gamers are more experienced gamers, so they can also, if you're a narrative gamer, you can appreciate the wackiness of Blood Bowl, and it's a game you're probably more likely to play than if you're listening to like a strictly competitive podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm excited to see, because I'm not good at doing these things of like making up these systems for events and things like that, but one thing that I'm looking forward to is when you look at a Blood Bowl tournament, they will make like, you know, the starting roster is, you know, 1,000,000 crowns or 1,000 or whatever the deal is. And then they will expand that to like increase the roster size a little bit. And then they'll give you a skills pack. Like you can have 5 upgrade skills. You can't repeat the same upgrade skill more than once. A double skill, which normally they aren't allowed to have. You can have one of those or whatever the deal is. I'm looking forward to see for like, if you're doing like a narrative event at a big thing like LVO or Adepticon or any of those things, I mean, whatever we can COVIDly do that again.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how narrative players that run events or narrative event organizers will actually do that. Like, okay, you can make your roster. We're going to start out at X power level. You can give out a certain number of upgrades, but like I know for me, like I was thinking for an event I wanted to run this summer, I was planning on saying, okay, you can take X number of upgrades, but if you apply 2 to the same unit, you have to roll a 4 up, or you have to roll a die, and on a 4 up, you have to roll on one of these charts for, you know, the battle scars thing,
right?
You know, just you know, because then you can just track it over. I mean, because if you play like you know, 4 games over 2 days or whatever the deal is, like you actually have a little bit of time to move and track things. But more importantly, the system, not just for events, for narrative events, gives a way to level up and do things. But the entire system to me has just given people permission to do what you guys have been doing the whole time. You know, it gives them like a framework to start where they're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, these kind of do. When you look at all the agendas, they are story driven things that will naturally play out in a game. And I think it'll just get people to look at the game differently. And it just adds a lot of layers of depth. And you can always go back and play match play. And it'll feel like it's kind of like when you play Kill Team. You're like, this feels like 40K, only it's smaller and it's a little different.
Yeah.
I think Crusade will do the same thing. And it'll just finally give people permission to enjoy narrative gaming without thinking that narrative gaming is the person sitting there talking about, you know, their D&D character. Yeah, they're not bringing up the vengeance of Arcturus 4 or you know, whatever.
Yeah. Not like 2 episodes ago, we've actually been having people on to talk about their D&D character. I mean, to talk about their 40K armies.
It's
been a lot of fun, but not for everybody. For me,
right?
Because
I've dug them.
Because here's the thing: they spent 40 minutes talking about their 40K army, and it's free content. We get to phone in like half an episode. It's really the best.
Little inside baseball, everyone.
So
free content.
Yeah, I think that this is. I don't know how anybody can complain about this system for organized play either, because for organized narrative play, the player keeps track of everything.
Yeah.
And if you're cheating in a narrative event, then that's a problem. That's a deep-seated problem that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And you should just let that person cheat, because that's what they need to be better in their minds, and they deserve to be better in their minds. But you can also impose rules like your opponent gets to, like you're saying, your opponent gets to pick the hero of the day,
I like that, actually. The more I think about that, the more I really do like that.
Oh my god!
And then at that point, you do end up roll. Maybe in an organized event, you actually roll to see what scars you get, or whatever, or what. I keep forgetting the proper nouns, but anyways, you do the roll. You use the rolling method instead of the picking method for certain things. Yeah. And you and your opponent do that at the end of each game. You sit together and you roll up your results of the games, and then you move on to your next game.
Yeah.
I think that's. I would say keep it to 2 games a day, or for the smaller games, 3 games a day. Maybe decrease the RP for increasing your roster size for like a 2-day event, because you'll never get or just increase the number of power level you add, maybe 10 power level per RP instead of 5 power level per RP, or you bake in the increase. There's lots of ways you can do this to adjust it for your particular need.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, the Blood Bowl analogy is very apt, and things like Warcry and Kill Team have learned from each other and have kind of built up to this really cool system. And I'm hoping that Age of Sigmar takes some cues from this and improves its narrative component. I'm sure Jervis Johnson is not feeling too bad about this system. I'm sure he wishes he thought of it. But anyways, thanks a lot, Brian. I appreciate you being on with us.
Thanks,
we're gonna hop into the campaign next, and hope you guys enjoy that, and then we'll close out the show.
Come here, boy. Get the ball. Come on, Max. Get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy. I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deathwoods. Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Hey, mofos. Are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Welcome back, everyone. That was an awesome interview with Brian, or segment with Brian. Glad he was able to come on and talk about Crusade. So we decided to, like I was saying before, we decided to do some Crusade games, but we also decided we wanted to play some Kill Team first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest, the Kill Team game was before we got the rules, so...
Another behind-the-scenes look at Masters of the Forge.
Here's the thing, just because Kill Team isn't technically part of the Crusade system, there's nothing stopping you from folding it into your games.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
So this campaign is intended to introduce an Imperium army into a broader narrative about the Psychic Awakening. I wanted this to kind of be a culmination of the Psychic Awakening fought between an Imperium player and a Chaos player. I've left all of the proper nouns out of the location and everything like that. Now, Pariah has some, like we were saying before, Pariah has some new theaters of war going on, so you can use whatever one you want for this, but Theater of War Hive World might be the best option for playing most of these games. We're going to go into more depth about those in the next episode, I feel. So just keep that in mind, that we didn't play this using those because we didn't have the book yet. Like, I just bought mine at Flipside the other day. Yeah, I think I'm getting mine this week from Game Inc. Right. We haven't gotten any allocation from the community team except for the box set in months. So just keep that in mind. So again, this is 4 scenarios. The first one is going to be a Kill Team. The other 3 are Crusade games. And we didn't even come up with unique scenarios for the Crusade games because we're testing out the Crusade system as it's presented in the book. So we just used scenarios that exist in the book. Yeah. They're good scenarios too. So just keep that in mind. So the army choice for this one is going to be Imperium or Chaos. You used Imperium. And I used Chaos. For the Imperium side of things, you'll create a Crusade army and progress with a Crusade army. For the Chaos side of things, you're going to have 4 different armies throughout the campaign. Yeah. And you'll see that as we go.
And that made it interesting.
It's like a GM player situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was. That as I was playing it, I kept thinking that was kind of what was going on. It was more of a GM, game master / dungeon master situation, which is really cool.
Going forward, I think we'll do more of both of us coming up with whatever like narrative we want. We can even take turns having specific narratives if we want. But because I want to play my orcs.
Yeah. And
this is a good jumping off point for your army. And that's what I kind of want this Awakened campaign to be, like a jumping off point for someone's Imperium army. So the special rule, the main special rule for this campaign is the martyr pool. Yeah, I wanted to fold in some of the narrative notes from Psychic Awakening into this campaign, where martyrs, like when a sentient being is killed, their soul is either eaten by chaos or it goes to the Emperor. I don't think it's always a fact that chaos absorbs these souls, which we previously thought, because some of the narrative stuff in the previous rule books and in the novels seem to indicate that some of these warp spirits are controlled by the light of the Astronomicon. So
Legion of the Damned.
Yeah. Yes. So for this, in this case, if a unit that is not a demon is destroyed, add 1. So, okay. Sorry. At the end of each player turn, count the number of casualties. Don't count models with the demon keyword because they're already dead, or they're already they're never born, or they are spirits.
Correct.
If it was a monster or a vehicle, add D3 points instead, either due to the fact that creature is a more powerful presence, or in the case of a vehicle, it just has a crew, so there's more people. and then you split that up, round it up. So if you had 15 casualties, it would be 8 martyr points per player. And it's used either for summoning units or casting Smite. So for summoning, the Imperium player gets to summon Warp Spirits, which we have rules for in here.
Mm-hmm.
The Chaos player gets to pick whatever demon troops, the common demon troops are. So Bloodletters, Demonettes, Plague Bearers, or Pink Horrors. In the case of Nurgle, the first scenario is Nurgle, so you really don't get to use it. If you want to, you can, but it would just be like one model. Don't be summoning all kinds of models.
Right, and it's kill team, so...
And it's kill team, yeah. So you get to summon one unit at the end of your movement phase, equal to the number of points in your martyr pool. So if you had 15 points in your martyr pool, you can summon a 15 model unit. Before you summon them, though, you roll a dice for each model that would be summoned. On a 4+, it manifests, otherwise it doesn't. So you never know exactly how many are going to show up. We did not play with this rule in our campaign because that was basically us playtesting these rules.
Mm-hmm.
15 was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it did tend to what's the word I'm looking for? Clog things up a little bit.
Yeah, and you want the models on the battlefield to have the most efficacy.
Yeah.
So they have to be summoned outside of 9 inches from enemy models and within 6 inches of friendly models. And the unit size can't exceed 20.
Yeah.
Units that are summoned in this way, so they all come in unfettered, which is a keyword that you add to them. They can't perform actions, which is the rule that is used to score objectives in a lot of these narrative scenarios. They also can't hold or contest objectives. They're kind of just vengeful spirits that want to kill the enemy. They aren't there to score you objectives, okay?
Yeah.
After you summon the new unit, you reset your martyr pool to 0, and you start allocating for the next turn. You can also use your martyr points to manifest like latent psychic ability. So you can either spend 1 or 2 points in your psychic phase to manifest the smite power. Any unit can use this ability, even if they're not psychers. Mm-hmm. If you spend 1 point, the unit manifests the power with 1d6. If they spend 2 points, the unit manifests the power with 2d6. Simple.
So I wished I had used this more.
Right. Well, it's hard because if you're summoning, your martyr pool goes to 0. So
yeah. Yeah, and there were times I needed to summon more than I needed to be dropping smites.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think it would be cool. And there was a lot of this, like even in the short stories we read from the book, like the characters or the characters from the story where the warband went to chaos, or where the chapter fell to chaos. They fell to chaos because they were executing their brothers for manifesting latent psychic ability.
Right. Yeah.
When they could have just been Grey Knights. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been it probably would have been better for my narrative if I had done that, just because the Blood Ravens do tend to have a higher number of librarians and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I just didn't think of that. Well, actually, now I was just trying to get bodies on the field at times.
Right.
Yeah.
So we also added a new unit called Warp Spirits, so these are the things that the Imperium can summon. I basically use Furies as the basis. They're like really crappy Furies, like Strength 3, Toughness 3, but they're kind of like a cross between Furies and Demonettes, kind of. And they fly, and they're cool. They have a 5-up invuln save because they're technically demons.
Yeah.
And they have a special rule that they're scary to non-demon chaos units. So like cultists and stuff, they suffer a -1 leadership within 6 inches of any warp spirits. Their claw attacks, like, they're normally just annoying more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
They can throw a few wounds on here or there, or interrupt or absorb an overwatch or something, but every once in a while an attack goes through. So for every natural wound roll of a 6, the damage is resolved at AP -1 instead of AP 0. I thought that was a little bit, adding a little bit of help to that attack is good.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we use them, I just use them to shut stuff down. It's like, I don't want that character or that model going anywhere. Here, have some warp spirits.
Yeah, they're not meant to be like the ghosts from the Lord of the Rings that were a Deus Ex Machina for ending that battle. That's not what they're meant for. They're harassing spirits.
Yeah. They're like horrors, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They're really close to horrors.
Yeah. I also created an astropathic vein fortification, which is basically the same thing as the chaos fortification, except for the Imperium.
Yeah.
If you guys want to use that. People are using...
use that.
No. People are using, there's abilities called Astropathic Lightning Rod, Indomitable Halo, Conduit of Grace. Just assume that I just stole every ability from the Chaos one and gave it to the Imperium. People are using Blackstone for all kinds of stuff. I thought this was a cool, like, Imperium way of using it.
Yeah, well, there's a Blackstone artifact in the Crusade rules, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember what it was. Probably. I remember reading it and going, haha, I want that.
There are also 3 stratagems: Cleansing Flame, which My Life for You, and the Saint. The first 2 stratagems actually just affect this, interact with the Saint. We have seen in the books and stuff these spontaneously these saints spontaneously arriving from the population. So it allows you to kind of take one of these beacons of hope in the Emperor's Light in one of your games. There's a lot of rules to it. I'm not going to go into it right now, but it's just a fun way. If you guys want to, we didn't play test this, so we would really appreciate it if folks, if you do end up playing with it, let us know how it went, and we can adjust the rules for it. Of course, all of these rules are going to be made available in the show notes and on the website if you guys want to use them. Yeah. So I think that we've talked enough about this. Let's actually start going into the games. Obviously, we will have already been played the games. So everybody, stick with us, and we'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more. Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for Plus Blood Ravens Chapter Plus on Facebook using the plus symbol if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power. Guard it well.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Jason and I just have finished playing the first game of the campaign. So this was a kill team game, and that let us play it before the new book came, so we don't have to worry about not knowing the Crusade stuff, because ostensibly Crusade doesn't take into account kill team.
Yeah.
So
I guess.
So this campaign is a Imperium versus Chaos thing. So for the first one, the story is that from the depths of the hive, a menace has crept into the daylight. Reports abound of individuals stumbling into the streets, bodies riddled with a virulent rash and fever. Screaming for their father's absolution, they collapse but do not die. At first, the Officio Medicae attempts to heal these sick individuals. Within a fortnight of intensive care, the illness runs its course and no sign of the disease can be found, and the patient is moved to the recovery ward, then soon released. So, everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
It's fine. We're all good.
Unfortunately, shortly after, every resident of the recovery ward comes down with the same symptoms, and the original patient returns to intensive care, their bodies rent with horrible, pus-oozing lesions. Within hours, the patient is dead. Further investigation by more esoteric means reveals that the infection is not at all naturally occurring.
Although the disease has already been introduced to the hive, the Officio Medicae has requisitioned assistance in seeking out and eliminating the source of the threat. After desperate days of investigation, the Adeptus Administratum has located the source of the plague and has equipped a small, elite force to penetrate the underhive and put an end to it.
So this is a kill team game entitled The Kettle.
Yeah.
It's for the Imperium and Chaos. In this case, it's better to use Nurgle for your Chaos side of things. But for the Imperium, it can be any. You picked Blood Ravens, right?
Yeah. I decided to go with the Blood Ravens for this gig.
So since we're kind of meshing the game, like the gameplay, the battle report with the actual scenario description, why don't you talk about what you had in your kill team? Okay,
so I went with basically kind of a simpler kill team. I've for my narrative games in the past, I've used a 100-point team of Reavers, essentially. So that's going to be 6 Reavers, no grab shoots, no grapnel hooks, and a Reaver Sergeant. And that comes out to like 97 points or something like that. Just under 100. And they're all kitted out with combat knives and heavy bolt pistols, which, that kind of helps. There's some things I think would make them better, but yeah. And I like to have, I used White Scars tactics because, first of all, there's no Blood Raven tactics, but it's Blood Ravens, and whatever tactic they take. So I wanted to have like a faster moving group so they could get in there and get stuck in. And so the White Scars tactic allows me to add 2 inches to movement. So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
All right.
That was kind of cool because it got me stuck in very quickly.
Yeah. And you were kind of like, I don't feel like coming up with specialisms, so we just said, why don't you just take an extra command point every turn because your commander's a super commander or something.
Yeah.
Cool. So I took Death Guard. So my leader was a Plague Champion with a plasma pistol and a power fist. Because he did some damage. He did. He was really good. He really rooted everything in the center with his backup of plague duders, plague poxwalkers. Anyways, for my specialists, I had a fighter, plague marine fighter, with the flail. That flail of corruption is ridiculous.
Yeah. I tried to shoot that guy off the board, and it just wasn't happening.
No.
He just kept passing his disgustingly resilient.
He did. You get to make D3 hit rolls for each time you attack with it, and he had 3 attacks.
Yeah.
Which is gross. Space Marine Gunner, I had a plasma gun on that guy. And he had the veteran ability, which is cool. That means he can go out and he's not affected by morale modifiers. So he can run around shooting. Oh no, the veteran was the no, yeah, that's who that was. And then the other gunner had the Plague Belcher, which is basically a flamer except +1 reroll 1s to wound. I thought that those weapons all made sense for the scenario because they're all kind of these chemists. They're like chemistry nerds. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Then I just had 8 Poxwalkers.
Yeah, those Poxwalkers, man, they can...
when they
start passing those disgusting resilient rolls, it's just...
Yeah, I think those kind of represented the sick, the people who were actually like already sick, and they were converted into Poxwalkers. So I thought that was cool. So you know what? We didn't do the scouting phase.
Oh, we forgot.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about the battlefield and the scouting phase that's meant for this game?
Okay, so scouting phase. So you conduct the scouting phase as normal for the scenario. The Chaos player can choose from the following options: plant traps, scout out terrain, take forward positions. The Imperium player may choose from the following: scout out enemy forces, disarm traps, scout out terrain, eliminate sentries. Eliminate sentries probably would have helped. Yeah,
I think so too. So I tried to like split them up so that the ones that made sense for their specific mission. Yeah. So for deployment, I'll do deployment and talk about the kettle. So for deployment, the defender set up in the middle. So there's a standard like 10-inch by 14-inch center area that the defender sets up in. And the attacker is in a flanking position on the short battlefield edges. You only had like 2 inches of deployment zone on each side.
Yeah, not a whole lot to get it. Not a whole lot to get in there.
The defender deploys first, and I deployed around the kettle. I did spread mine out so that I was covered on the rear or the front. But you chose to deploy all on one side.
Yeah.
That was a smart move, I think.
Yeah, because if I'd separated, like I've played this kill team or this list a few times. I knew how it played a bit, but I'd forgotten some things about it. But I knew that if I divided it, that you would have smashed me just immediately. So
yeah, that makes. Reavers, it makes sense for them to be split up. If you wanted to do it that way, it would have made sense. But also, it makes sense to strike at the weakest point, and I think that flank was the weakest flank at the time. But due to the nature of the kettle, it wasn't so negative for me. So the kettle has 2 special rules. One is virulent foam. All Nurgle models. So even if you're taking a chaos neutral force, you're not going to get these benefits because you won't be Nurgle. So all Nurgle models within 3 inches can reroll Disgusting Resilient, and the attacker rolls a dice for each Imperium model within 3 inches of the kettle at the end of the movement phase. On a 1 or a 2, the model suffers 1 mortal wound. So if you're too close to the kettle, you're going to take mortal wounds. Bilious Miasma, the Nurgle models within 7 inches increase their movement by 2 inches. Imperial models that move within 7 inches of the kettle must pass a leadership test or end their movement as their base enters the area. If they're already within range, then they just reduce their movement by 2 inches.
Yeah.
Which doesn't bother you because you are
White Scars.
Yeah, it's pretty good. In the end, I think that extra movement helped a lot. I think it makes sense to maybe reduce it to 1 inch on both sides. As we play tested, I feel like that gave too much of a benefit. So I'm going to reduce. For the play, even the poxwalkers were like zooming. Yeah. So I'm going to reduce that to 1 inch. You want to talk about? What else? So the kettle looked really cool on our tabletop simulator board because I grabbed it from another file and I stuck it. It refused to reduce in size. So instead of making that the kettle, I just kind of made the spigot on the side the kettle for range purposes. But it looked really cool. And as I killed poxwalkers, I dropped them in the kettle. It was great.
That was funny. Because I kept saying, what was my comment I was making about stew? Just put it in there. It'll all taste good. It'll all taste the same. All right.
Do you want to talk about the battle length? And it's really the battle length was a standard random battle length. It just meant that at the end, if we did run out of time, it means the kettle explodes and disease wafts through the underhive and above. Do you want to talk about the Diabolus neutralizer, Jason?
Yeah, I liked this thing. This is really, really cool. It did absolutely nothing for me, but it was really cool. So the Imperium team has been provided a special device called the Diabolus neutralizer. The neutralizer consists of several packets of arcane ingredients, some blessed by a high-ranking preacher and sanctioned psychers. The packet is wrapped in thermite. Okay, so when I read this before we did that sentence, I loved that. Just like, yeah, here's this horrible thing, and I'm just going to go through and put it in another layer of horribleness. Yeah. So as the Diabolus neutralizer is of extremely simple design, it can be equipped with any one of the Imperium kill team's models. The player secretly notes which model is carrying the device prior to the start of the game. If that model is slain, place an objective marker where that model fell. Any Chaos models that touch or move over the neutralizer marker immediately suffer D through mortal wounds. Another Imperium model may pick up the neutralizer during the movement phase as long as they pass over the marker. A model carrying the neutralizer may use it to render the kettle inert. To do so, the model must move within 1 inch of the kettle with the standard move and may not make any attacks this turn. If no enemy models are within 1 inch of the model at the end of the battle round and the model is alive, the game ends. Shaken models may still deploy the neutralizer. So,
it's like one last desperate effort.
Who had the neutralizer?
Good question.
Who do you think had it? Who do you think had it?
I would assume the only guy you can tell the difference between all the other four.
Yeah, pretty much. The sergeant.
The sergeant, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't fall. So you stuffed yourself down the center, and we got caught real bad. I decided to send my combat specialist down one flank, and in an effort to get you in a pincer and lock you in. You actually ran around, being White Scars, you had good movement and you actually were able to assault him. I'm surprised you didn't actually fall back with with that character and make a go for it, to make a run for the neutralization.
I thought about it, but you had a couple of poxwalkers that came in there and tied him up.
Yeah, I did throw in some, and I did fall back with a poxwalker to hopefully be another speed bump. So there was just too many models in the way at the end of the day, and your initial first turn you were firing blanks at me. I guess the bolt shells were just getting caught in that miasma, right?
Yeah, so let's talk about my shooting, shall we?
Or, maybe not. Maybe we should just leave well enough alone. We don't want to summon the beast for the next game.
Oh.
Yeah, so anyways, for the victory conditions, if the kettle is rendered inert, it's a victory for the Imperium. And they are able to get to start the game with an extra relic, from the Adeptus Sororitas. So
I think that's cool.
Even if you're not running Adeptus Sororitas, you get the extra relic from that book because they are very happy with the aid that you rendered the people.
Yeah. That was really cool. I truly dug, having I really like the idea that the Sisters of Battle, you could get something from their codex. Because I was looking at that right now and thinking, those rules are in the Kill Team Annual for the Sisters of Battle. So, and then I was trying to think if Tabletop Simulator actually had Sisters of Battle. Sorry, go ahead.
No, they do.
Rad.
So, if Chaos wins, their warlord may roll a random boon of chaos in the next battle.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, so which may seem strange because the next battle you're going to be facing Tzeentch. Why would a Tzeentch character get a boon for Nurgle doing something? Well, clearly it is Nurgle who it is clearly Tzeentch who is pulling the strings of the Death Guard the entire time and made them sacrifice themselves in order to start spreading a disease. Now, why is it that Tzeentch wants to spread disease and anarchy in the underbelly of the hive? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait till next time to find out.
I thought it was because it was Monday or a day that ended with a Y.
I think so. Well, it's Tzeentch, so the day could possibly be ending in a W, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because Tzeentch,
you've got a point.
So in either case, the winning player is going to start the game with 4d3 points in their martyr pool already. We already talked about the martyr pool earlier. I don't. Oh, I have dice. Here, I'll roll them right now.
Yeah, do it.
Dice. Oh no.
What do you mean? Oh no!
I accidentally restarted the game. I need to rewind time.
Is this where we put in shares if we could turn back time too?
If we could turn back time, if I could find my way.
We've already quoted Rocky Horror once.
Let's do the time warp again. It's just a jump to the left. I'm really surprised that there's no D3 in here. Like, what are they even doing with their lives that they don't have a D3? So I'm getting this many extra points. Wow.
Okay.
So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
10 martyr points for the next game.
Oh man, that means you can go through and start.
Yeah, I can start summoning demons. Yes, it'll be excellent. All right. So why don't we take a quick break, and it won't be a quick break for us, but it'll be a quick break for the listeners, and come back after our first Combat Patrol game of 9th edition. Awakened Scenario 2, Propaganda. And you can hear the wailing of the people in the distance. Of course, even though the infection of the population was incredibly beneficial to Grandfather Nurgle, the disorder caused in the status quo has been machinated by a warlord of a different color. Many different colors, in fact. Players in corporate and government circles have worked for months in the shadows to funnel resources into the underhive cults and spread the kettlepox. Even though the significant effort and material were distilled with the blessings of Grandfather, only a relatively few individuals were actually infected. Continued effort by the cultists loyal to the plague god are required to maintain the virulence of the pox itself, while it will take a great deal of nuance in order to accelerate its spread. A campaign of disinformation has been initiated throughout the Hive's communications network in the guise of boosting morale. Seemingly innocuous messages from the ecclesiarchy officials and the ruling nobility urges the population to remain strong in the faith of the Emperor and resist the fear of being infected. This message spreads down through the Administratum and the Munitorum workforce by word of mouth. Supervisors insist that workers continue their daily routines without hampering themselves with common sense protections. The machinations of the propagandists have transformed the work ethic of the Imperium into a disease vector. Administrator Helene Malek of the Officio Medicae approaches the commander who launched the previous attack on the kettle for assistance. She has been working with an unknown ally to root out the source of the disinformation, and she believes she has succeeded. She just needs a small combat patrol of elite warriors to infiltrate the nest of propagandists and their defenders and eliminate them with no mercy.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. This is feeling really
What?
I don't know. It feels so current.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. This is miniature wargaming. There's absolutely no actual real world. Yeah, like why are you trying to insert, your politics into my wargaming? This is fine. So how dare you, sir? So
sorry, that just broke me. How dare you? That might have broken me for the rest of the day. Okay, all right, fine.
So this is going to use the assassinate scenario, combat patrol scenario from the 9th edition core rulebook, page 340 of your hymnals. Assassinate. The mission rules are target sighted. The defender's warlord must be set up wholly within 6 inches of so I have to deploy in the middle of my deployment zone with my warlord.
Yeah.
Which is like the chief propagandist, by the way.
Okay.
Restoratives. The defender's warlord, if it's a model with a wounds characteristic of less than 10, I have the restoratives. I roll a d6 every time they lose a wound, and on a 6, it's not lost.
Ooh.
And they also regain 1 lost wound at the start of each of the defender's turns. So he regenerates as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he's been working with Nurgle.
That's very true.
With the Death Guard. The attacker chooses who gets the first turn in this mission. I already deployed because I figured the defender in this situation would just be deployed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Mission objectives. So, target wounded is a progressive mission objective. The attacker scores 10 victory points at the end of a battle round if the enemy warlord lost any wounds during that battle round. So if you manage to take a wound off my warlord, you get 10 points.
Ooh. Okay.
Target eliminated end game if the defender's warlord is destroyed. So my warlord is destroyed at the end of the battle. The attacker scores 40 victory points.
Wow. Okay.
No meek prey progressive. The defender scores 10 victory points at the end of a battle round in which the warlord destroys any enemy models during that battle round. So you get victory points for wounding my warlord, but then I get victory points if I show some fortitude and I meet you in battle.
Right.
I can't let anybody in my inner circle think that I'm a coward.
That's right.
Bloody but unbowed. If the defender's warlord is not destroyed at the end of the battle, the defender scores 50 victory points.
Wow. Okay.
After the battle, the victor can select 1 unit from their army that has a Crusade card. This must be a unit that can gain battle honors, so not a named character, not a swarm or whatever.
Or summoned.
Yeah. Or summoned, yep. That unit gains a battle trait of your choice. Make a note on the unit's Crusade card and increase its Crusade points accordingly.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, there are some adjustments to the scenario for our special game here for this campaign. Obviously, it's Imperium faction versus Tzeentch. And we're kind of saying that, like, I'm kind of playing as the GM in this situation where I'm playing a different army every time we play, but your army is progressing using the Crusade rules. So my warlord is a demon prince of Tzeentch, who has been working tirelessly to manipulate the message to the people of the hive. So the victor bonus for the chaos player, if I do manage to win the game, instead of the usual victor bonus, I would just get 4d3 martyr points at the end of the game, or at the start of the next game. So at the start of this game, I already have 10 from the last scenario, so I'm going to be summoning in some pink horrors very soon.
Yeah.
But you get to decide who goes first anyways.
Okay.
So that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
Now, did you create an entire Crusade roster, or did you just make the 25 power level list at the moment?
I've made the power list for now, although I do know what's going to be overall in the roster. At least
in the 50 power level. It's 50 power level, right?
Yeah. I've got a couple of. I know I'm going to add a couple of more things. I have to decide about vehicles. That's kind of the next thing. I think I've got the bodies, the vehicles I need to pick up now.
Okay. Well, why don't I go over my list real quick?
Okay.
Because it's temporary. It's in flux anyway. So I've got the Demon Prince of Tzeentch. I didn't give him any wings. I'm at exactly 25 power level.
Okay.
And then I have two 10-man squads of cultists.
Okay.
They have auto guns because I kind of feel like a Tzeentch warband with cultists in a city, they would have ranged weapons. They wouldn't have close combat weapons.
Right.
The underboss is a Dark Apostle. And then I have 5 Rubric Marines to go with them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they seem really cool. I've never used like a lot of this stuff, so that's going to be really fun. So at 25 power, we will have 3 command points to use throughout the game, and we'll be generating 1 per turn as we discussed before. You don't have any Crusade rating yet, so
right.
I won't be getting free command points. Also, I think we may add some kind of adjustment in the book, in the scenario, where the martyr points that we get also count towards Crusade points. Maybe like a 5 to 1 ratio or a 10 to 1 ratio. I think that would be more than fair.
Yeah.
So since I have 10 martyr points, why don't you take an extra command point to start the game?
Okay.
For a total of 4. Okay. So Jason, what do you have in your list today?
All right. So for my list, I was kind of wanting to work out this whole new narrative, of maybe like a savage procurement unit or something like that. But I think. Wait, we didn't choke it about it on this episode, the last episode. So I'm taking the Judicar as my HQ. We're playing this in Tabletop Simulator, so I'm using a chaplain model because it's not in there yet.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I decided to take... I'm really fascinated by those Blade Guard vet guys.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take a unit of those, which... There's 3 bodies in there, so that's kind of cool. I'm using company champion models for that.
Might I suggest actually, setting those guys up with reserves? What do you think? So you're allowed to put up to a certain percentage of your power level in reserves, and then they outflank throughout the game. However, that's really not necessary. I'm sure they're made of sterner stuff. What do they have? 3 wounds?
Yeah, they've got something not ridiculous, but something kind of cool. Was it 3 wounds? Yeah, 3 wounds, 3 up.
Nice. 2 up.
They even have invul save, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I guess they're actually 2 up, 4 up because of the new Storm Shield rule.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice, actually.
That's super nice. So maybe you don't have to worry about those guys.
Yeah, that was so I've got those guys. I've got Reavers.
Nice.
And I'm running the bolt pistol and knife option with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I then decided to run some intercessors. So 1 unit of those with the auto bolt rifle, so they have assault.
Oh, cool.
Or the assault weapon. And I took the auxiliary grenade launcher because I really like taking that in Kill Team because it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And having the assault will be good because the rest of your army is already assaulty. So
yeah,
giving them the ability to advance and shoot is not a bad thing.
Right. Well, then I also picked up the assault intercessors.
Nice.
Which I mean, I'm taking 3 new units?
Yeah, dude.
Ooh. So you and I are both running a bunch of stuff we've never really run before. It's going to be...
No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you have 1 HQ. So you're running a patrol with 1 HQ, 1 elite, 2 elites because the Reavers are elites, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And 2 troops. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. This is going to be fun. So the battlefield, the way it's set up is the defender's deployment zone is half the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
The attacker sets up 10 inches away from that, and my warlord's in the middle of my half, right?
Yeah.
The guidelines are one piece of terrain per 12 inches, so we have 8 pieces of terrain. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of ruins out in the middle and in your area, with 1 really big ruin in the middle. And then in my back quarter, I guess, I put 2 L-shaped barricades, but I used computer desks to represent the fact that these guys are, disinformation spreaders. They're computer nerds. And then there's a small ruined walls for the warlord to start in kind of the entrance of this building area. And then I took the ministry from Downing Street, I think or not Downing, whatever it is. The Absoluta Sententia Expositore non Indicet. I don't know what that means, but I think it's a government building in England. We set that there to add a little flavor.
Yeah.
So my deployment, I deployed the 1 unit of cultists in 1 ruin, a unit of rubrics in the other ruin, and then some cultists in the center, ruined walls, protecting my demon prince of Zinj.
Yeah.
The Dark Apostle is kind of sitting in between the 2 units of cultists in the hopes of scaring them into having good morale.
That works.
I think in matched play, you want to start behind the ruins because they're obscuring, so they'll actually block line of sight even without line of sight, or even if you have line of sight. But I don't care, and I think I like having the heavy weapons up on top. So we'll see. And we have a giant ruin in the middle, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, there's all those barrels.
Yeah. And I'm set up to defend. Anyways, we're not gonna belabor it. Why don't we have our game? You can deploy, and we'll fight each other, and then we'll talk about how the game went. All right, Jason. Yeah. Well, that was a fun game. Our first game of 9th edition.
Yep.
It felt a lot like 8th edition, except ruins are a big tar pit just because you're so high up, but it's got that 1 inch and 5 inch coherency.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're within an inch horizontally or 5 inches, and 5 inches vertically, you're engaged. You're considered to get engaged in combat, which makes things a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Like monsters can fight, vehicles can fight, and you don't have to try to occupy upper levels of ruins and stuff with your models. You don't even need, so like if somebody, so this is what you charged me with your Blade Guard
Everything.
veterans. Yeah, you charged me with a bunch of that when I was sitting in a building with my rubrics.
Yeah.
And you only needed like a 4-inch charge because you were, even though I was on the second level, horizontally, you were only 4 inches away. So it was really interesting how that worked out.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about was I took a unit of Reavers, and they have the grapnels, and so they kind of ignore vertical distance anyway. But let's be honest, I mean, you know, how many people, I mean, I guess if there was something on the very top of the third or fourth floor, they would, it'd be important, but so I wonder if they'll go have some differences in them.
Maybe. I think Reavers are allowed to infiltrate.
Yeah.
Which if someone's in an upper level, you measure diagonally to infiltrate.
Okay.
And then you ignore the vertical distance for charging. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But still, you're right. You're right. It's
interesting.
It's really interesting. Yeah. Again, it's an abstraction. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I think it was a fun game. I love the fact that there are consequences. So speaking of consequences, so first of all, the Demon Prince clearly survived this battle. I think that you overcommitted on one flank, and you did wipe out a bunch of cultists, but the Dark Apostle tar pitted your melee units. If you had been able to reposition those melee units and get after the Demon Prince, it would have been a lot different.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing was you had some rubrics in there, and so that automatically turns into the Space Marine pillow fight. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it did it quickly, and we're also doing a narrative campaign, and so you had martyr points to use to bring in the pink horrors, and horrors are big time speed bump for anything. So
the 4-up invuln helps.
Oh yeah, and then they split too. That's,
and you managed to bring in some warp spirits, but all they did was tie up more pink horrors. Like there was a lot
funny
on the field. I think we're gonna adjust how many ghosts or pink horror or ghosts or demons you get. Because I think it's a little much, but it was not very consequential. So it's kind of 6 one, half dozen the other, but it was a lot to keep track of. It's more fun to have your own models on the battlefield than summoned units.
Yeah. I was thinking about it might actually be easier to deal with that stuff if it was like a face-to-face game rather than on tabletop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you're like, okay, I need to copy and paste all these guys. You know?
Yeah.
The ruins came into play a lot. The obstruction, where even though you could actually LOS line of sight see someone, technically the ruin blocked it.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. And I noticed that a lot of the time if you're charging into terrain, your opponent's going to get +1 to hit pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think having that terrain there as a defensive measure is really nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of consequences, let's do step 16 of the battle. Sorry, the what do they call it? The mission pack, Crusade mission pack.
Yeah.
Update Crusade cards. So let's take out of action tests for your models who died. So the Demon Prince pretty much wiped out the Judicar in one turn.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
That was rough.
he just came in there and just smacked him across the room. Right then I was like, well, this game's lost. That was the first thing I thought. It's like, I'm done. Okay. Let's see how long it takes.
So go ahead and roll a dice. On a 1,
okay,
he is going to either get a devastating blow or a battle scar.
Okay, so I'm rolling in Tabletop Simulator. Here we go. Looking for not a 1. Ah, good. A 4. Okay.
A 4. So nothing happens.
Yeah.
What other unit died? The Reavers died, even though
died.
They might get a battle scar and extra experience points.
Yeah, that's what got kind of funny about them. All right.
Did they roll a 1?
Yeah, they rolled a 1.
Fan-freaking-tastic.
These guys are
you
great.
can choose either to lose D6 experience points, which would be bad because they're about to earn a bunch of experience points, or we could do something fun and roll a battle scar. Come on, Jason. Roll a battle scar. Yay.
Let's put a battle scar on the Reaver. Okay.
Page
Let me go over to their Crusade area.
325.
Okay. Reaver's got battle scars.
It is any other unit. All right, go ahead and roll a d6.
All right, let me go back to here. All right, d6. And I've got a 1 again. Wow.
Sweet. They are walking wounded.
Okay.
Subtract 1 inch from this unit's moved characteristic.
Wounded. -1 movement. Okay.
In addition, subtract minus. Well, you can just say walking wounded on your thing.
Yeah.
It also applies to advance and charge rolls. So those guys are gonna be in rough shape.
Yeah.
But
is there any way to
yes,
fix that?
You can fix that with requisition points later.
Okay. So
so you bring in the Medicaid to fix them up. Maybe give them some bionics or something.
And then because they killed a lot.
They did. And maybe in the next game, even though they are wounded and stuff, maybe buy them a repulsor or something to cart them around in. That way they have a better chance of making. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like they've earned the opportunity to have their dedicated transport.
So what's interesting is I had taken the Reaper. What was it? The Reaper agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So that's +2 experience.
Right. Next step is update experience points.
Yeah.
So each unit that was part of your army list for this battle gains 1 experience point. So you might want to make note of that.
Okay.
Then mark for select 1 unit that was part of your army list for this battle. That unit gains 3 experience points. So I would say, even though
well, they were destroyed, so they can't actually take that +1.
Mm-hmm. Is that true?
If I remember correctly, if you are destroyed in the battle, you do not get experience for going to the battle.
So I was going to say, since they were already getting experience points from the agenda, maybe give it to the Judicar. He clearly learned his lesson. Right?
Yeah, let's give him the +3 for the.
Yeah, you don't need to have survived to get the mark for greatness. So I was going to say, why don't you mark the Judicar for greatness, because he charged a demon prince and almost died from what happened.
Okay, so +3 mark for greatness for the Judicar.
Dealers of Death. Unit gains 1 experience point for every third enemy unit it has destroyed in total. So you need to mark. So the unfortunate that we took the assault intercessors and the Reavers and just combined all their attacks against the Dark Apostle. So we don't know who killed him, but I feel like the Reavers probably killed him.
Okay, so let's give them that point for
they
killed,
mark
for greatness?
No, it's Dealers of Death.
Oh, Dealers of Death.
Right, they get a point for each unit they killed. So they killed 2 units.
Yeah.
And your who killed the rubrics? The Blade Guard veterans?
Yeah, but they didn't kill the aspiring sorcerer.
Who killed the inspiring? It doesn't.
He was still alive.
Oh, that's right. I fell back.
Mm-hmm.
What
He
a
fell back.
I am such a lazy lump. Who would fall back from combat? And let's say, even though we finished the game a little early, these intercessors probably killed these cultists.
Okay.
So why don't you add one for the intercessors with the assault weapons?
Okay.
Agenda achieved. We'd already talked about that. Your Reavers are going to get the bonus XP from the achieved agenda.
Yeah.
Now we do. You'll determine your battle honors and update combat tallies on your roster.
Yeah.
We can do that between games.
Yeah, we'll
and
do
you
that
update
later.
your order of battle. Increase your battle tally and requisition points by 1. So you'll just add a tick mark to those. You can go over this later on your own.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
If you wish to add any units to your order of battle or spend any requisition points, do so and update your order of battle accordingly before your next battle.
Yeah, I still have to get up to the 50 power levels, so
yeah,
that'll be the first thing I do.
From what I can tell, there's no actual way to add models to your roster, because I think it's just a matter of building and painting them.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
What models you have actually on your roster. I think it's just a matter of people building their collections, and that's what's on their roster.
Got it. Okay.
I think that makes sense. Jason, do you want... So now we're going to move on to the next scenario. Do you want to hear what the next scenario is about?
Sure.
To the listeners, this will be seamless. To us, it will be tomorrow.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The Awakened, Scenario 3, The Infected. Kettlepox is on the rise throughout the hive, but at a time of enlightenment is soon approaching. Time is a barrier even to the ruinous powers, and they must surmount it. Although a web of lies has drawn the people together in ignorance and spread the grandfather's blessing throughout the hive, it is a passive infection. As virulent as the disease is, it is spreading too slowly still. The scent of desperation, madness, and pain is like blood in the water to skulking fiends of the shadows beyond even the keenest vision. Or were they drawn here by design? Was it the grandfather's cult? The shaper of ways? The servants of she who thirsts would balk at the very notion that they were playing the patsy in anyone's game. But this is, of course, the way of the great game. One faction feeds the other. They bring each other up as they tear each other down. Desire oozes through the streets and the corridors of the hive. A sweet scent billows through the sumps and the ventilation systems, enticing thousands of citizens to breathe deeply of its blissful pungence. Those who succumb to the perfume are not content to be alone. Their bored malaise soon develops into a hunger for human contact. It's not long before the revelries begin to pop up throughout the hive, great masses of humanity writhing to unholy music. The gatherings are far too much for the Arbites to control on their own, especially as the officers themselves slowly begin to succumb to the pox. Military branches throughout the hive are pressed into service, providing what crowd control they can, sometimes using the only brutal means they're capable of, with their limited resources and numbers and poor training. One group of such defenders has decided to press deep through one of the most dense gatherings, shoving and blasting their way through the throng to reach the epicenter of the great dance. There they find a nest of vile Neverborn orchestrating the revelers and their emotions. So this scenario is going to be called Spring break. No, the ritual.
July 4th.
July 4th. What are you implying? Are you again still implying some kind of allegory to my story here?
I don't know, man.
How dare you, sir?
All right, 15:30.
That's what you get. So we're going to be playing the ritual incursion scenario next, which will be 50 power level. We haven't put our armies together yet, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about the game we played. All right, welcome back, everybody. We just finished game 3 of this series. So the scenario we played is the ritual.
Yep.
Which is another one where the defender deploys in half the battlefield, and it's an incursion scenario. So it's a 50 power level, and you play it on a 45 by 60 inch board.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I played the Slaanesh Demons and Slaanesh Chaos Space Marines. I decided to try to do the possessed stuff. So I had a Greater Possessed and 10 Slaanesh Possessed and a Master Possessions. And I had 2 units of Cultists to go with them. But for the Demons and my Warlord, I took the Infernal and Rapturous and I put her next to a piano.
That was funny.
And she was the one who was orchestrating the dance ritual that all the huge throngs of people were engaging in. And actually, in Tabletop Simulator, we created a bunch of naked humans. Like, there's a couple hundred out here right now. Yeah, yeah, they're all wearing underpants, which, fair enough. They're not on the battlefield, of course. They're just kind of hanging out. They like to watch.
A new definition of t-shirt save.
Yeah. This one also has that ritual site, which is in the middle of my deployment zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have 4 objectives that we both set up. We each set up 2. So we took 4 checkers and put a few of the underpants people on those objectives. And for this scenario, that kind of counted as like the demons were trying to entice the humans to stay and continue dancing, while the Space Marines were trying to get the humans to leave the area.
Yeah.
The way the mission works is you score 10 points at the beginning of your turn. So during the what's the new name of the phase? The command phase.
Yes. Yeah, command phase.
So if you're standing on 2 objectives at the start of the command phase, you get 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
If you're holding more objectives than your opponent, you get 10 more points. The ritual is interesting. It uses a new rule called the what is it called? The action or the making noise so it's not dead air. Making noise so it's not. Yeah, it's called actions.
Yeah.
You perform an action by initiating at the end of your movement phase, and it goes until the end of the turn.
Yeah.
So she's basically performing a ritual. During that action, though, you can't. Even your aura abilities don't work. You can't make any action. You can't do anything else. If somebody assaults you and is within an inch of you in engagement range, you also stop performing the action. Now, sometimes some scenarios let you perform a psychic action instead, and it's like a spell, or it's like a psychic power, and it's a lot more flexible if you have a psyker doing the actions instead.
Yeah.
You don't actually lose any of your other stuff, which is nice. We actually had fireworks going off in the game and outside the game while the game was playing, which was very exciting. Made things very difficult. Quinn stirred a little bit, but he wasn't too bad.
Okay,
it was poor Jamie who was miserable.
Oh yeah, poor girl.
So I guess this time you. I also tried out for the demons. I had 30 demonettes, which was amazing, and I also tried the reserves rules. So I spent 2 command points to put 5 Seekers of Slanesh and a Seeker Chariot into ongoing reserve or into reserves. So the way that works now is on turn 1 you can't bring them in. And it's 9 power level or less is 1 command point. And then as you get bigger stuff, the more CP it costs to bring them in or to put them in reserves. But on turn 1, you can't bring any in. On turn 2, you can bring them in on any battlefield edge except your opponent's, and you can't put them in your opponent's deployment zone. On turn 3, the deployment zone restriction isn't there.
Yeah.
But
I learned that pretty quick.
Yeah. But you always have to make sure your reserves don't come in closer than 9 inches to your opponent.
Yeah.
Unless
but you made that charge.
Oh, I made some charges. Yeah, I made both of the charges with both of the Seeker units. With the Seeker and the Chariot. That Seeker Chariot, woof, did a lot of work.
Did some work.
That thing's cool as hell. Now, if your opponent for some reason is in your deployment zone, if they're within like 7 inches of your battlefield edge, you can actually come in within engagement range of them immediately. Or, it just drops the 9-inch restriction totally. So that was really interesting. As far as the game goes, I had quite a bit of fun playing this one. We did cut it a little short because it was looking pretty... I just had so many bodies, and I think that's been a problem for your army throughout this
this
campaign. The next game, I think I'll try to take a little bit more elite units. But the thing is, I've been trying to follow the narrative of, it's like a cult uprising on the planet.
Yeah.
I haven't written the intro for it yet, but I think that there's good reason to bring some tougher guys. And it'll be a 100 power level situation.
Okay. All right, I need to figure out what I'm going to do there. Okay.
So I think it's gonna kind of outstrip our following the Crusade. Actually, why don't we just leave it at 75 power level so we don't lose our minds?
Because we're at 50 now, and that repulsor was starting to drive me crazy.
It's a lot of dice.
Yeah, because so we didn't talk about my list or actually your list either. But I took the repulsor.
Do your list. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the list real quick. Where is that? Come on.
Well, you did manage to drop all of your stuff on the floor.
Yeah, I did. I've got, when we were recording, everything fell over and hit the ground, and it was well.
Well, while you're looking for it, I really think that your Judicar did a great job.
Yeah, I was wanting to have more out of him just because he did absolutely nothing in the... Well, hold on. He died in the last game. That's what he did. And he did it really well, I might add.
And he did manage to kill the unit of... Possessed, which got him some experience points. And I think your Reavers got some experience points again, didn't they?
Yeah, because those guys, I don't know. It's funny. They just kind of chew through things, and they really shouldn't because there's only 5 of them in there.
Yeah, they're big damn heroes is what they are.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the list. So I had the Judicar, or Judicar, however you pronounce it, from the new box. The Blade Guard vets, which did absolutely nothing because they could not make a charge.
Yeah.
The Reavers that basically just kind of hacked and slashed through everything. The Intercessors did pretty well, but they didn't destroy the units, so they didn't get that experience.
Yeah.
The Assault Intercessors, I don't even think they hit anything because the Judicar basically wiped it out before they had a chance.
Yeah, they were basically they were bodyguarding the Judicar. If we'd gone any further, they might have done some work against the Demonettes and cultists and stuff that are protecting the the Infernal and Rapturous.
Yeah. The Phobos Librarian, I probably need to add, because he did manage to cast one spell, the Tenebrous Curse.
Mm-hmm.
And then before it had a chance really to do anything, the Judicar came in there and chomped him.
Okay, cool.
The Suppressor Squad, I remember they killed some Demonettes, and they were actually working on that cultist group, but the Seeker of Slaanesh, or not the Seeker of Slaanesh, but yeah, the Seeker of Slaanesh came in there and beat them up. But the Repulsor, that's the one that I have one. It's not built yet. Well, it's in the process of being built because I just didn't know what to outfit it with, because it has a large number of weapons. If you don't know that, how do I know that it has a large number of weapons? Because I had to sit back and go back and remember, how many does this thing have again? Okay, cool.
It's a little obnoxious. Sometimes I find it, like with the Repulsor, it's almost better to just write down like the Fragstorm grenade launchers.
Yeah.
Like just write down Fragstorm grenade launcher array and write, actually just rewrite the number of shots with everything, because and especially now, those Fragstorm grenade launchers with the D6 shots that turn into 6 shots against anything 11 models or more. 24 shots if you've got 4 Fragstorm grenade launchers on that thing.
That thing did some work.
Mm-hmm.
That did some work. The thing is that the Repulsor I took, I wasn't actually kitting out for anti-infantry. I was going for anti-space marines and anti-vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd like the rocket pod and the Crackstorm grenade launcher, and the Las Talon and the Gatling cannon and the twin Las cannon.
Yeah.
So if I had gone through and done more anti-personnel, that might have changed some things around. But yeah, man, it took forever to go through and shoot that. Like every time I got to that unit, I was like, oh man, not this again. So I don't know. But it did some work, so it'll get some extra bling whenever I put it together. So that'll be pretty cool.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the next game,
did we talk about your list?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, and we talked about the Master of Possession?
Well, I mean, he didn't really do much.
Oh, well, because I think that's who my Judicar is going to start going after.
Ah, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's because I saw that he retreated, and he retreated into the sight line of the Judicars. It was like, that's who he's going after next.
Well, do you want to play that fight out?
No, it's okay. It's all right. I'll say this because it is getting late and I'm tired. So yeah, but it was lots of good narrative stuff in here. I've got some better ideas on how to kit the models that haven't been built yet. So,
yeah, and you said your Reavers are all built super special, right? So
yeah, they were built for Kill Team.
It's great that they've done such a great job so far.
Yeah.
Do you want to nominate them as your unit marked for greatness?
Glory? Yeah. Marked for greatness. Let me put that in there for them.
Nice. Maybe they can get them. Maybe they can get themselves a sweet enhancement.
Yeah, that would be nice to give to them. Where are they? Oh, I forgot to do an agenda.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
All right, these guys are marked for greatness.
and then you can run through that and see if you want to. I don't think any of your units actually died in this game.
Yep.
So, yeah.
To go up in levels, you have to be... The first level is 5 experience, right?
We would have to look that up because this is all new to us. I really don't know.
Okay. Well, the reason
hold on. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's stop here, and then we'll come back and record before the next game, and we'll talk about the upgrades and stuff that you did.
Rad. Okay.
That'll be way easier than just shuffling through papers on the air. All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll be right back.
Be right back.
As the Hive's rulers and their armies battle street to street and building to building with the citizens they were sworn to protect, the Blood God smiles. A new era of glorious battle is dawning on this world, and the true puppet master of the entire operation has finally revealed themselves. The disease-ridden orbital defense platforms put up little fight as a massive red-hulled cruiser and its fleet take station above the Hive. The vessel oozes empiric viate from the countless brass pipes protruding from its belly. A red mist reigns over the city its warring residents. The warband of world eaters and their favored vassals, having whipped themselves into a frenzy, board the ship's cruel-looking landing craft and begin their descent. Their target is a very specific stronghold of Imperial defense, which has been a thorn in the side of their plans from the very beginning. So, the entire operation has been kind of orchestrated by this Khorne warlord.
Mm-hmm.
A past world eater from the Long War, who kind of got this motley group together to try to take over this planet and cause an endless war to break out here.
Yeah.
And it seems to have worked quite well, if I do say so myself.
This was a really bloody mission.
Oh yeah. So this one we decided. So it's the Khorne forces landing en masse, causing destruction, literally raining blood on the city.
Basically, it's a Slayer tune, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of that's what the game turned into, was just almost attrition.
So we used the Raise and Ruin Strike Force scenario from our hymnals on page 351. Which includes burning objectives. So it's got it's a kind of a standard Dawn of War deployment where you're 12 inches from the center of the battlefield in your deployment zones. But it marks out a center ground, which is like a 6 inches horizontally, so 3 inches to either side of the center line, where 2 of the objectives have to go, and also 2 of the objectives have to go in each deployment zone.
Yeah.
And then there's two other objectives. We kind of put an objective in each corner, like in a ruin, and then there were 2 fuel derricks in the middle, like opposite each other. Also put an objective on each of those, and we just called those. I thought it was cool to do that, so that if you are raising an objective, that it counts as kind of like a building.
Yeah.
And I brought in some flame effects, some fire effects for us to use when we destroyed vehicles or when we raised an objective. By the end of the game, It was just all on fire. It was great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
So for this one, it was a progressive objective scoring. So if you hold one marker, you got 15 victory points. Two or more, or sorry, if you hold any, it's 5. If you hold 2 or more, it's 10. And if you control more than your opponent, you get another 5. So
yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting way to do it. But then for demolitions, if you had raised one objective, it was 15 points. If you had raised 2, it was 45.
Yeah. So
the cool thing is we're noticing here is the victor bonuses are slightly different for each scenario. In this one, after the battle, the victor could use the increased supply limit requisition twice for free. Now, in this case, we actually increased your requisition limit by a lot, so that we can see a bigger point game and how that played out. But this is neat. There are a bunch of different ways that you could do victor bonuses in your campaigns and stuff. And it's reminiscent of Kill Team, where in Kill Team, you will whoever loses a specific kind of resource. In this case, it's the winner gets something, which I think people like. People like that. So for the armies, I took the forces of Khorne.
Yeah.
And I had
some
fun.
Really big blobs, too.
Yeah, I had fun. So I had a Chaos Lord and Terminator armor as my warlord. He had the brass collar of the Borgaster, which allows you to deny psychic tests, and if you do, they suffer perils of the warp. That never happened, but it was cool.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't use my psyker that much, but we'll talk about that more.
I used the stratagem that makes him an actual world leader or whatever. It lets him fight twice.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal. Was it the Red Butcher? Was that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually that stratagem really kind of tore apart a lot of what I was doing.
Oh my goodness. And the thing is the berserkers, they just get that. That's not even a stratagem for them.
That's just who they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Khorne, I had 2 squads of cultists, just 10 man. They're not really. They were just holding objectives. Khorne berserkers, 2 squads of those. One with chainswords, one with chain axes. Those guys are just ridiculous.
Yeah, they did.
I didn't even notice the world eaters rules. The butcher's nails, you get +1 attack on the charge. So
you didn't need it.
That stacks. That freaking stacks with the hateful assault. So if they have chainswords, they get 5 attacks on the charge. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't need them because you basically wiped anything that you ran up on.
Oh my god, it's true. They get to fight twice.
Yeah.
Anyways, they were carving.
And with the changes in Overwatch, that kind of.
Oh yeah, and I mean, they're only guys with 3-up saves, which you shouldn't really say that, but it's not like they're super durable. They have 1 wound, 3-up save, so Overwatch is really important against them, and they are crushing through stuff, especially with that icon of Wrath gun rerolls. But those guys tore a bloody swathe. They were both in rhinos.
Yeah.
I had a 5-man unit of Terminators that I set up in the Teleportarium with the with the Chaos Lord. During the game, they came in on turn 3, and he came in on turn 4. I kind of felt like it would be cool if they dropped in to clear away the area and make room, and then he would drop in and clean up. I felt that made a lot of sense for a Chaos Lord to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of just dropping in and dying.
Yeah, that's yeah.
They got stuck in with the Blade Guard and the and the what's that thing called again? The chaplain.
It's a Judicator or something like that.
The Judicator, yeah, the one that debuffs you and makes you go last. Yo,
that's actually really powerful.
That was really powerful during our game, and at the end of the game, it was so cool because my Chaos Lord did end up fighting the Judicator in the last combat of the game, and the Judicator made me go last.
Yeah.
So you got to fight me first because even though I had charged, you made me go last, and then the way that works out is we just resolve them as if I hadn't charged. And so whoever's turn it is gets to pick the first ongoing combat. So you picked to go with the Judicator. You got 4 wounds in with your 3 damage weapon, and I made all 4 of my 4-up invuln saves. It was and with the fire all around us, like it was really cool. It was really
this
cool.
game was really did hinge on some of those critical rolls like that one, and I had a couple of whiffs that were
oh my god, it was terrible. And there was for the first time this game, dude. Or for the first time in the 3 games of 9th that we've played, we remembered that vehicles get to shoot when enemies are in combat with them.
Yeah, we know what we're doing.
I don't think it's really it's made a difference.
No, not really, because because I haven't really. I mean, the only thing I brought was the repulsor before.
Right, and that thing never got in combat.
Yeah, because it was too busy shooting everything in front of it to get into combat.
Turning everything into a fine red mist. Anyways, I also had a Predator with last cannons. That was really good. 2 Mauler Fiends with the Lasher tendrils.
Oh man, those guys just would not die.
Oh my! Well, the one definitely would die. The other one would not die. It was. It did help that I kind of screened up a little bit with the 1 Rhino full of Berserkers, so you never had really a targeting solution with your Land Raider. So
that's true.
Yeah, the one died pretty early on, but the other one got stuck in, and the Warpsmith was healing him the entire time. It was great.
Yeah, and I could not get in to shoot that Warpsmith. I had no way to get there.
Right.
So, yeah. I probably should have gone through and, well, we'll talk about my list in a little bit.
Right, but that was my list. I didn't have a whole lot. What did you have in your list, dude?
Okay, so I kept the Judicator, or however you pronounce it. So he's been in all 3 campaign games, well, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th campaign game. The Blade Guard Elites. I brought the Reavers again. The Intercessors, Assault Intercessors, Repulsor, a Phobos Librarian, which that was my last list. Plus a Suppressor Squad. And then we went ahead and moved up to 75 power level. And so I brought in the Land Raider Achilles and an Invictor Warsuit. Which those are, I'm glad I brought them because, one, it kind of made it easier to move stuff around, but let's see, what did they all do? Let me look through my... All right, so that Blade Guard Veteran Squad managed to take out your Chaos Terminators. So I was pretty happy about that. The Assault Intercessor Squad, do we want to talk about what happened to them?
I mean...
or do we just say that the World Eaters ate them?
Yeah, they charged through a building or through a ruin and just ate them twice. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. The Judicator did take out the Mauler Fiend, which I had to remember all of my Space Marine rules because I just haven't really been playing as much recently, and so there's one rule that I didn't realize was in there that would have allowed me to attack more. Hold on, let me look through my paper here. What else happened? Librarian got off one... Oh, I forgot to add that. Did get off 1 psychic power. No, 2 psychic powers. Actually did well in Smite, but didn't help. The Intercessor Squad. Hey, look, they died to the other World Eater Squad. The War Suit. Okay. So I've been trying not to take anything in the in my list that I either A, don't own, or B, don't have it in box. Like I haven't built it yet. But I decided to take the War Suit because, yeah, sure, why not? I now have to buy a War Suit. Thanks, Adam.
I intentionally roll badly against stuff you don't own so that you buy it.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay, well, the Invictor took out a blob of cultists.
Yeah, that's how that works.
A blob of berserkers, and a rhino. I think it actually made... I think it was the top unit of the game. Let's see. The suppressors took out a rhino. And the Land Raider Achilles took out a blob of cultists. Oh, and the Repulsor took out the other Mauler Fiend.
Nice. Yeah. And I definitely see how fun this is getting with the more power level that we play. I know, small games are fun, but a lot more happens, in the bigger games, and that's also a lot of fun. Should we talk about our secondary mission, our agendas?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead, talk about yours. I didn't make any of mine, so whatever.
Oh, I had Reaper and Kingslayer. So Reaper, I picked. So it turned out that the Predator and the Mauler Fiend both killed 2 units, and they were tied. They were tied for unit kills, but I feel like the Mauler Fiend earned its the best because it just
it did. It did a lot more than
tied stuff up. Yeah, so that agenda, I believe, gives the unit that killed the most units like 2 experience.
Wait, is that the one? Do you have to say which unit's going to do it, or does it have to be?
No, you do it after the fact.
Oh, okay. Then I actually got that one.
Okay. Why did you pick Reaper as well?
Yeah, I always pick Reaper.
Oh, yeah,
because it's a better one.
I'll read it out just for funsies. Okay. So, Reaper, the unit in your army that has the highest combat tally of enemy units destroyed during the battle earns 2 experience points. If 2 or more units are tied, you choose which unit achieves this agenda.
Okay, cool. So the War Suit got it because the War Suit did.
Yeah. And also I chose Kingslayer. 3 experience points for the unit that kills the Warlord, and that ended up being my Warlord. So that Warlord would have gotten 3 experience, where this my actual Crusade army. What was your other one?
My other one was trying to what it's called. It would have been Linebreaker in the old edition. I'd have to have 2 units. Battlefield supremacy. Breakthrough at the end of the battle. Select up to 3 units from your army, excluding aircraft that are wholly within 6 inches of your opponent's battlefield edge. Each of those units earns 2 experience points. Yeah, that didn't happen. No, it did not. So one of the things I noticed with this game was for our special rules for the summoned units, I feel like there are too many at every level of the game. We reduced it for this one, and I think it needs to be reduced a little bit more. Also, I think allowing them to be summoned anywhere on the battlefield is inappropriate. They really should just be throwing themselves at the enemy. So I'm going to adjust the rule a little bit, and when we talk about that early on, I'll mention that we changed it because of our play testing here. Yeah. But just to let you know, I'm gonna change it so that it's within 9 inches of within 6 inches of your own models, and they can't hold objectives. I think that's. Oh, is that okay? Yeah. I think that's probably works for the best. They really should be just jumping in there. So we'll change that up. But I had a lot of fun doing this. I did too. I can't wait to actually do a Crusade force,
Do you have somebody who's a really high level right now who's got a lot of experience?
High level. That's hold on, let me see.
I assume there's a couple that have made it into the.
Well, the Reavers.
Oh yeah,
the Reavers are at.
They made it
8?
last time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would get like some kind of blessing or something if you wanted to.
The next step would be that war suit, because the war suit just did work. I mean, it was just kind of ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, you get one. So if you go into bloodied, you get one battle armor honor. You can choose a trait or a weapon enhancement. They're not psychic and they're not characters, so they don't get a relic. So roll it. Do you have a D6 on you?
Not. Hold on. Maybe. Hold on.
Maybe. So I want to see what kind of cool upgrade this vehicle would get. This Invictor Warsuit would get if we were to randomly pick a battle honor for it. Because
I have a Masters of the Forge die in my hands.
All right, let's see. Roll it. Roll it up.
All right, here we go. 5.
Repair systems. Vehicle models in this unit regain 1 lost wound at the start of each of your command phases. So that's really good. Like just like the one I had that rule on the Mauler Fiend.
Oh, that is nice.
I mean, you don't have to roll; you can pick. But I just thought that would be fun.
No, I think rolling's better. But I mean, that's us.
All right, roll for the Reavers.
Okay, that's a 2.
A 2. Veteran warriors reroll hit rolls of 1 when resolving attacks made by models in this unit.
Okay, hold on. What was that? Veteran warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, cool.
That's super fun.
That is it. Everyone else
just has a few experience.
Yeah, like the Judicar had. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, it might actually have it may be at 5 now. 5 experience.
Yeah, because he's been in 2 games. No, he's been in 3 games, and he got your favored.
Yeah, marked for greatness.
Marked for greatness. So actually, he should be at 6 because marked for greatness is 3 XP.
But he died in this one, and he died in the last one too.
Doesn't matter. Everybody gets an XP regardless. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
then
roll a D6 for a character unit.
Okay. 5 again. Wow, this one's rolling 5s. Okay.
Inspiring hero. Add 1 to the leadership characteristic of friendly units while they are within 6 inches of this character model.
Okay. Inspire. How do I spell inspire? There we go.
Inspiring hero.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, this unit can perform heroic interventions if, after an enemy has made all its charge moves, it is within 6 inches of any enemy units, and it can move. And it can move up to 6 inches when doing so.
He's a close combat monster. I mean, he
is. He wants to be up there. Making people go second, go last is crazy good.
Yeah, when he gets stuck in, it's he knocks off points.
Yep. So don't forget, each of those gets their Crusade points increased by 1 unless they're power rating level 11 or higher, in which case it would increase by 2.
Okay, I'll have to go back through and clean all this up because.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's like it's and you have it electronically, so if you want, I can have a look at it.
Yeah, I've got it in the. It's actually in our one of
folder.
in our Drive account.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody out there wants to hear this. Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. It's been a long episode. So that's
this is going to be a long one.
But
it may not be that long, like actual time. It's just it's taken us.
Well, the funny
30 hours.
The funny thing is, we will know. You will notice as you listen to all of these games how we increase our understanding of how everything works as it goes. It starts out pretty ignorant and moves on to somewhat ignorant, so that's good.
Yeah. as long as we haven't left ignorant yet. We're still in that land.
Yeah. No, we'll never pull out of ignorance station, unfortunately.
Well, I'm looking forward to when this is released, so that we can get some more questions or ask some more questions, and maybe get some more other things. Like, I would love to have a electronic version of putting all this together for my army, because have you seen my handwriting?
Yeah, I can imagine it's a lot. I mean, I wrote mine in my little black book for my orc one when we do that. So, but it would be nice to have like an actual journal or have it included in the app. But we'll see. We'll actually know about that, I think, by the time this releases. So we'll
because it's going to be soon.
Yeah, I think this Saturday or something. Anyways, all right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and close out the show.
All right, and stop.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det ikke en bikkje, det en slags ting. Den imiterer en bikkje, men det ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Are you looking for a pressure-free hobby Facebook group? Hobby Streak. Are you looking for a community where you can keep your hobby progress on track? Hobby Streak. Do you want a Facebook group that focuses on all aspects of the hobby? Hobby Streak. Hobby Streak is a Facebook group for building, painting, list building, playing games, and everything in between. Hobby Streak. Post daily updates showing or telling about your progress for friendly and helpful support from a great community. Try Hobby Streak today.
Well, that was a delightful episode. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
Always glad to be here, Adam.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
This episode's finally over.
It feels like this. I'm not even sure how many hours we've put into this episode. I mean,
so many hours.
Easily 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Easily.
And all for what? So 200 less listeners will be listening to That's an inside joke.
Yes, definitely inside joke, yeah.
Let's just say some people did not appreciate the inclusiveness statement from the couple episodes ago. It's fine. It's fine.
I thought we'd already run them off, but okay.
I guess
I'm
some were
more
still hanging on.
myself.
Yeah, why were they still here? We should have realized. We should have been stronger in our stances. I didn't realize it was possible, but okay. So I'm just wondering, what should we do for episode 150? Quinn has his opinions, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever weird language he's using for that. Right. Quinn, what should we do for episode 150? Cupcakes?
Yeah, cupcakes,
Cards?
man. I'm totally down with cupcakes.
Yeah. Well, we'll think of something, I'm sure. If you have ideas, listeners, let us know what you want to hear. Another drunk episode? Okay. No, thank you.
I don't know. I kind of enjoy those.
Those are fun. We already had Brian on for this episode, so we might have to have different people on for drunk episode.
I don't know. I mean, drunk Brian could be a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I don't want to keep bothering him.
But I think he actually likes us. I don't know.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Either that or he's just, he's just a glutton for punishment. I mean, he is a Drakari player.
I wonder if we can get drunk David Annandale on. He would be drinking wine.
Well, we've had Drunk Gav. Well, we haven't had Drunk Gav Thorpe.
We've had Gav Thorpe, not Drunk Gav Thorpe.
Well, he was having a couple of beers that last time we recorded.
That's true. That's true. That was a nice time. We should have him on again, and we should read Indomitus and have him on again.
Yeah, and now that we have Zencastr, we can go ahead and actually be recorded. We can go back to having more guests.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We may end up paying for Zencastr, in which case we may end up asking people for Patreon money but the thing is, there won't be any benefits to to Patreon. It'll just be give us money, please. But we'll see. I don't feel like setting up awards. That's the problem with Patreon. It's like, okay, now we have to do more work for rewards. It's like, but we're just asking you to help us out with.
Well, I don't know. One of the awards could be they get to like do hobby hangouts with us. I mean,
but we want them to do that anyways.
Well, that's true. I don't know. Maybe they can win a date with me. Oh, that's terrifying.
Now that is thinking outside the box, and I appreciate that. That's a good. We'll put that on the back burner, and by back burner I mean we're definitely doing that.
I'm trying to figure out who would have the worst end of that deal.
I would make some extremely inappropriate jokes at this point, but instead, let's talk about next episode. Next episode, 148?
147.
Is going to be, we're going to talk the lore of Machine War and War of the Spider.
Yeah.
But we're also going to we're going to talk about the lore of Pariah, but we're also going to go into some of the new narrative rules from Pariah that we talked about in this episode that are clearly intended to work with the Crusade system, the theaters of war.
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, those are going to be awesome. Maybe we'll come up with some of our own throughout the. Obviously, we're going to come up with some of our own throughout the years, but it covers a lot, those theaters of war. So we'll see. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Quinn got the last word that time.
Of course he did.
You want to go swimming, buddy? We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge. And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
You can also contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor. Thanks again for listening.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Podod of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.